Good, beautiful Sunday, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Coach Darwin Rivers. Today is September 18, and you are watching HR Cafe, Usapang Trabaho, Buhay at Iba Pa. We're already at our 106th episode. And as promised to you, we have a very special guest for today. We have attorney Pol Sangalang, our legal guru, and he will be talking about HR and the Sun Tzu Art of War. And that will be at the second part of our session for today. So let's start our program. The HR Cafe Usapang Trabaho Buhay Iba Pa is an online talk show program aired live stream every Sunday at 3 p.m. And we are your HR Cafe servers. Again, my name is Coach Darwin Rivers. I'm the founder and president of the Philippines HR Group. I'm a certified life coach, a public speaker, a motivational speaker, and HR consultant. I'm also the vice president for global HR operations of a global BPO company. Joining today would be mentor Shona Ferentino. Mentor Shona has more than 20 years of HR practitioner experience working in different local and international companies. He's the president and CEO of Aprush Social Geekers, a public speaker, HR consultant, and one of the top 100 Filipinos in LinkedIn. Hi, Mentor Rona.
Hi, Coach Darwin. Good afternoon, everyone. Isa na namang masayang linggo ito. And I hope itag niyo po yung inyong mga friends at i-share niyo po ang ating live stream for today dahil sharing is caring. Naku, napaka-exciting po ng ating topic ngayon. Coach Dar?
Yes, and of course, aside from Mentor Rona, we also have Mentor Tina Koang. Mentor Tina is an operations and HR leader with broad local and overseas experience. She's the general manager of a retail company, best known for online content and blog tinainmanila.com. She's also one of the top 100 Filipinos in LinkedIn. Hello, Mentor Tina.
Good
Happy Sunday.
afternoon, Coach Darwin, Mentor Rona, and to everybody who's watching. Please leave your name, your company name, and where you are in the Philippines or overseas so we can give you a shout out on the show. We're very happy to have you here kasi we have one of my most favorites lawyers to come in and share with us deep knowledge talaga, hindi lang pang HR, hindi lang pang lawyer, but to connect the art of Sun Tzu, the art of war, on how we manage our jobs. I'm really, really excited. So I really look forward to Attorney Paul's portion later on. Highlight yan, highlight.
Okay, so be ready to take down notes, ladies and gentlemen. So we'll start our program. So here at the HR Cafe, we provide timely news and updates. We also impart knowledge and experience that are value adding and beneficial to our audience. We discuss any issues, problems, and challenges, and we provide answers and resolutions with our guest resource or guest speakers. If there are any new technology, tools, and processes, we share it here because we believe that sharing, according to nga to Mentor Rona, sharing is caring, and we provide you industry's best practices. If your company also has any job openings or job related announcements, please share it at the comment section, and we'll also be happy to announce it because HR Cafe is also a virtual job board. End of day, we would like to bridge understanding between employers and employees and provide inspiration and motivation to a world-class Filipino working class. Okay? So let's start our program with our wow quote for the week. And of course, since we are to discuss about Sun Tzu, our wow quote for the week comes from him. According to Sun Tzu, in the midst of chaos, there is also opportunity. Let me just repeat this. In the midst of chaos, there is also opportunity. How does this particular quote resonates in your life, in your work, or how does this quote relate to you? Please share it to us. And let's start with our mentors, Rona.
Nako, ang ganda nung ano natin nung ating quote for the week. At talagang kinuha pa natin talaga dun sa ang ating discussion for today na Art of War. Pagdating kasi sa I would like to compare it to whenever we have problems. Okay, chaos problems, same banana. But what we fail to always keep in mind is that whenever we are presented with difficult situations, ito yung pinakamagandang moment for us to really see opportunities. Problems, hardships, if magmumukmuk tayo, they will remain as hardships and problems and things that we can't resolve. However, if we see the other side of it, it's actually an opportunity for us to be a better version of ourselves, to learn about something, to really improve ourselves and really get more skills, a better way of thinking. Ganun palagi yung mga hardships and situations na kinakalagyan natin eh. Kaya lang kasi minsan nakakalimutan natin yun. Masyado tayo nakafocus doon sa problema instead of the solution and instead of realizing now what can I get out of this situation. Hindi yung doon agad tayo sa how do I get out of this situation. Number one, let's think about it. What can I get? What can I learn from this situation? Okay? So that I don't do this again. And then how do I get out of this? Minsan kasi nandun tayo sa, wawa naman ako, victim kagad ng mindset natin. Huwag ganun. Okay, lahat tayo, walang exemption yan. Even people who are yung mga mayayaman, sila Elon Musk, people like them, they also have their own set of challenges. So, bakit tayo ma-exempt? Lahat tayo meron yan. But what are we going to get out of it? Mula pa noong, and probably this is because of how my childhood was formed, I always keep in mind na whenever I am presented with a hard situation, the first thing that I always keep in mind is, anong meron at anong kailangan kong matutunan. Ganun palagi. Anong meron at anong kailangan kong matutunan dito sa sitwasyon na to? Kasi if we look at things that way, mas magaan yung situation, mas magaan yung problema. It doesn't become a problem anymore. It becomes a puzzle that we need to solve. It becomes a challenge now. It's not something that would really pull you down. It's something that becomes at some point, an enjoyable situation. Sa akin, ganun ang dating niya, Coach Dore. What about you, Mentor Tina? Anong dating sa'yo nung ating quote for the week?
All right. Sa akin, let me start by saying, the light shines best in the midst of darkness. It is in the darkness, like when everything is so dark, even the smallest light in a candle shines the brightest. Versus, for example, di ba, lalo na in the daylight, everybody's so happy, gay, tapos parang ang bright. It's really hard for anybody to shine pag lahat kayo magaling, lahat kayo masaya, lahat ng situation maayos. Sa totoo lang, humanity is made out of stories of resilience, of strength, of successes, in light of always conflict, problems, huge calamities. That's really where humanity shines the best. Masyadong madaling mag-celebrate ang tao. There's nothing special about a person who excels all the time. But we always love the stories of people who's failed, yung parang was in the mud, tried again, was on the mud, tried again, and finally, naging successful siya. This is the same with Rocky. This is the same with the Marvel superheroes. This is the same with any parang rags to riches story. And people always just look at the successes kasi. They never look at the process. 'Di ba? Kasi parang, uy, ang galing talaga ni Elon Musk, ang galing talaga ni Jeff Bezos, ang galing talaga ng mga taong 'to. But if you really look at the beginning of their story, most of these successful people came from a moment talaga na sobrang walang-wala sila. Amazon was built from a garage.
Correct.
Elon Musk actually grew up without a father. He was his father was a complete asshole. His mother single-handedly took care of the entire family, and they were all brilliant, diba? But nobody remembers the failures. They only remember the successes. Which is why in life sa atin ha, now that I'm a parent, I don't want my kids to always be successful. Because if they're used to the feeling of joy, happiness, and success, they will fail when they encounter problems. That is also why it's wonderful to live here in the Philippines. Because everywhere you go, paglabas mo lang ng bahay, ang dami ng problema. So talagang nahahasa yung iyong problem-solving skills. If you're a Philippine HR, if you're an HR working in locally, sobrang galing mo magsolusyon ng problems kasi ang mga problemang hindi problema sa ibang bansa, pinoproblema mo pa rin. And sometimes we think na parang ang malas ko naman. But instead of looking at it as malas, you look at it in a way na, actually, ang swerte ko kasi ang dami kong kwento. Ang dami kong experiences. And yung experiences na yun is molding me to be a better person, better spouse, better friend. 'Di ba? Because it is only in these moments of failure and challenges that the real excellent HR comes. And that was why, for example, during the lockdown, ang daming magagaling na HR na lumabas. Ang daming magagaling na company na lumabas. At ngayon, alam na ninyo ha, sa personal life ninyo, sino talaga yung real friends ninyo. O, hindi nyo malalaman yun pag walang pandemya, walang problema. So, for me, embrace failure, embrace chaos. It's normal, but it's also the time where you see who your true friends and loved ones are. Diba? So, embrace that. O, Coach Darwin, ikaw naman.
Before I start, baka meron mga nag-share sa ating
Mm.
audience na kanilang experience or how this particular quote resonates to them. Meron ba? Kasi hindi ko nakikita eh.
Wala pa. Ninanamnam pa
Wala
nila
pa.
yung question.
Yan ang pa nila. Okay. Ako, when I first read this quote, in the midst of chaos is also opportunity. I remember one Filipino taipan, and this is
Mm.
basically Mr. Henry C. Henry
Mm.
C started dirt poor, and he
Mm.
started during World War II, where there is really a lot of chaos going around in the whole Philippines. But nevertheless, through his hardship, through his brilliance, he was able to what? To create a store na unang-una nagtitinda muna ng sapatos, and then he branched out. And from branching out to different um, uh, stores, now he's one of what? Fortune billionaire in the Philippines, number one fortune billionaire in the Philippines. And even when he died, all of his children are still fortune billionaires because of what he started during the time of chaos. What I'm trying to say here is that tama yung sinasabi ni Mentor Rona and Mentor uh, Tina, whenever there is chaos in your life, whatever aspect of your life, what you need to go back is, what is this particular issue or problem or chaos in my life is trying to tell me? And what is it trying to teach me? Sabi nga ni Mentor Tina kanina, di ba, during the pandemic, it's a chaotic environment for the past 2 years. But we've seen a lot of people who lost their jobs because companies closed. Pero itong mga
Mm.
taong to, anong ginawa? Naging entrepreneur, 'di ba? Nag-online selling sila ng iba't ibang food, iba't ibang items online, and they were really earning a lot more than what they've been earning when they were working. And a perfect example is also here in the HR Cafe, when during the times during the pandemic, and we really wanted to reach out to all of the HR professionals for continued free learning, what
Mm.
did we do? We established the HR Cafe, and we've used our online resources our weekend to make sure that we are able to provide this learning. As an HR, when there is trouble in the organization, when there are erring employees, when you're faced with legal battles or concern, I think the what it brings you is not only the experience but also the maturity of handling such situations, so that in the future sobrang kayang-kaya mo na siyang lutasin, 'di ba? We already have that rich experience that will make you successful. So just learn
True.
from it, understand it, 'di ba? So that's it from my end. Unless may mga
Nako.
humabol.
Yes, Coach Darwin, may mga humabol. So we have in our comment section, sabi ng ating mga taga-subaybay right now, I so love all your takes on the wow quote for the week. Tapos sabi niya ay, it's like the egg, the carrots, and the coffee bean. So yung mga hindi alam yung egg, carrots, and coffee bean, ito yung pag initan mo siya, iba-iba yung nagiging epekto.
Correct.
Yan. So, continue putting in our comment section kung ano po ang inyong take sa ating wow quote for the week. Tapos, Coach Dar, dahil nabanggit mo na rin naman si Henry C. May magandang ano yan, may counterpart siya sa ating mga kababaihan, si Socorro Ramos
Oh
of
yeah, yeah.
National Bookstore.
Correct,
Sobrang
correct.
ganda rin ng story niya kasi they started out selling yung mga office supplies and then dumating sa point na binaha yung store nila, lahat ng stocks nila binaha, sira. So they had to start from scratch. Imagine if Socorro Ramos gave up during that time. We won't have National Bookstore. But we have National Bookstore right now. Ang tindi ng pinagdaanan ng National Bookstore, ang tagal na nila, nakaiblang change na sila ng
And they,
logo,
and they
ng
also have a
halaman.
college, di ba? They have a National Bookstore
Yes,
College. Oo.
true, 'di ba? Nag-expand na rin sila. Imaginein mo if Socorro Ramos played the
Yes.
victim card and said na ayoko na, I give up. Everything is against me. The whole world is against me. Fate is against me. Hindi na ako tutuloy pa. Imagine if she said that. Pero
Correct.
hindi.
Mm.
Tutuloy pa rin siya. And now we have National Bookstore.
There's a lot of
Agree, agree.
local businesses that started off from failure. CDR
True.
King
CDR King, yeah.
imported a wrong batch, a huge amount of shipment that was unsellable. So they actually did CDR King to sell those items. There were also Happy Toothpaste, diba? I think they lost one of the customers' orders, so they decided to produce the toothpaste themselves. But ultimately, it was supposed to be a loss. There's a lot of companies who pivoted.
True.
I'm sure a lot of the business owners, yung mga malalaki, originally hindi talaga yun yung plano nila. Pero because of
True,
some
true.
setback, oh, 'di ba, Rona, ikaw din uprush, 'di ba? I'm sure there are may story din behind that. Para
Correct.
mapunta ka rin just to do uprush. So, 'di ba? The
True.
pivoting is important.
Agree,
True.
agree. It's how we adapt on all of these challenges makes us a better person, diba? Amidst all of this chaos. So let's go from a very ano ba, rich wow quote for the week to a very controversial question, HR question for the week. And I've been hearing about this even when we were in Singapore, diba? What
True.
is quiet quitting and how does it affect employees and employers? Kasi para doon sa mga unang nakarinig ng term ito, quiet quitting means that if you're an employee, you just work on what you feel is the amount of work that the amount of payment that your employer gives you. Kumbaga, you don't want to excel. You just do whatever is required to you. Diba?
Kumbaga yung bare minimum lang.
Bare minimum lang, mediocre. And a lot of people, especially after the pandemic, what happens is a lot of employers are actually parang ano nila parang yeah, we are meeting our targets, pero hindi siya tulad nung pre-pandemic na drive natin yung mga employees natin to go above and beyond. A lot of people are trying to just do the bare minimum. So what is your take on this, Mentors Rona, Mentors Tina, since you are employers also, aside from being an HR leader? Let's start with you, Mentor Tina.
I love quiet quitting because
Why?
that means that your value is as much as your salary. Tapos. I really love that kasi if people are quiet quitting, that means I do not have to problematize about salary increases beyond the minimum wage. I don't have to worry about promotions or offering any other benefits. All I need to do is keep to the contract. This is your contract, this is your job description, this is your pay, and you're paid exactly as your worth. It's very problematic for employers to think of ways to continually reward star employees so that they won't be pirated anywhere else. Quiet quitters just stay where they are happy with their work-life balance, and don't necessarily are pretty dispensable when the time comes. Ang pinakamahirap palitan yung hindi quiet quitters. Kasi sila, pag umalis sila, nasisira yung organization mo. nai-impact yung ibang tao kasi ang dami nilang ginagawa sa organization. They're very important. Their contribution is so much that when that one person leaves, everybody is in chaos. But quiet quitters, when they leave, ay umalis ka, nag-encode ka lang. Don't worry, I can easily find another encoder. Ay, naggagawa ka lang ng reports. I can easily find somebody who does a payroll. But somebody who does more than payroll, kunyari, may problema sa payroll and actually solves it, that's a harder person to find. Ang daming quiet quitters na nag apply. Ang sarap i-hire sila kasi there's not a lot of demand or parang mind power from the mind of the employer to keep them. If one of them leaves, bye-bye. Star employees, if one of them leaves, the employer cries. They problematize. They wonder parang, oh my gosh, should I offer this person more money, more benefits in order for them to stay? I have to worry about their mental health and their pleasant working environment. I need to make them happy all the time because I cannot afford to lose these people who are doing more than their fair share of work. I always have to worry about, am I paying this person enough? Or should I offer this person even more money so this person will never consider working for somebody else? That's why I like quiet quitters. Because not everybody can be star performers. Imagine in a company na lahat kayo star performers, ang hirap talaga. Talaga, your promotions, your benefit cost should increase because you will work hard and pay them hard in order for them to stay. But if everyone's a quiet quitter, you really don't have to worry because your budget doesn't really change. Diba? They're only paid as much as the contract says. If may nangyari sa kanila outside work, that's not your problem anymore because there's SSS, PhilHealth, and Pag-ibig. If you help them, great. If you don't help them, well, that's what the contract says. My point is, quiet quitting goes both ways. Akala ng tao, ako yung employee. Ito lang kasi binabayad ko mo. Ito lang yung gagawin ko. Pag ganun, wala ring utang na loob ang employer sa'yo. Kung ano talaga yung nasa kontrata, yun lang talaga yung binabayaran. Hindi nagbibilang tayo, kung anong pinasok, yun din ang kailangan ilabas. Ang pinakamahirap sa pagmamanage ng tao ay yung mga tao talagang nag-underperform because companies struggle to keep these people from being pirated somewhere else. Because star performers are always in demand, regardless of age, location, or industry. And these are the people that are very scarce, diba? And when you find star performers like this, employers fight tooth and nail for that. My advice to everyone, okay, because I'm your friend, try not to quiet quit. Not just at work, but also everything that you do in life. Napakabilis maging average, maging mediocre. All you have to do is show up and do as little as you can. But the world rewards victors handsomely. They reward people on top of the food chain disproportionately higher than everybody else. Totoo yun. So if you're the best in your field, times how many times ang sahod mo versus somebody who is just average? It's up to you. Everybody has the same 24 hours of life. But it is up to you on what type of output that you would want to contribute in the world. I love quiet quitters. The world need quiet quitters, right? Because we need people just to show up and do stuff, take away your garbage, do things average, just for the world to rotate the same way as it is. But if you want to be something else in your life, that when you leave this life with the good stories to tell with for your people, if you want to say talaga na, you know what, I really made a difference in my family, in my school, at my work, in the community, I strongly suggest that you don't quiet quit. Kasi sayang naman yung talents mo kung magiging average ka lang. I don't think people are born to be average. I think it is a choice. So if you have a choice, if you have that capacity, do more so that you can also be paid more. You can also be more, 'di ba? But if you choose
Agree.
to quiet quit, wala tayong problema. As I've said, I love quiet quitters. We do need quiet quitters in the world. But I hope you're not one of them kasi as your mentor, I do want you to have more as well in the world. Hindi yung tamang-tama lang. Kasi what's the point of living kung tamang-tama lang ang gusto mong makuha sa buhay mo, di ba? If ngayon, gusto mo lang ganun lang, pagdating ng 5 years, 10 years, ganun lang din. Hanggang mamatay ka, ganun lang din. Pero kung okay lang sa'yo, okay lang din sa akin. Kasi again, the world needs quiet quitters. Alright? Rona?
Grabe, ang tindi ng hugot ni Mentor Tina.
Kaya nga
Di ba?
parang,
Ang
may,
ganda
may,
na
may,
sinabi.
may, may masasabi ba tayo? Kasi,
Pero alam mo parang yung
oo.
parang yung love life, di ba? Kung kunwari ikaw yung babae, tapos gusto mo, eto lang ang gagawin ko, tapos you expect your partner to exert all effort, pero ikaw ganito lang. Di ba? Paano kayo, parang ganun yun eh. Paano uunlad yung relationship ninyo? Kuha ka ng kuha, pero yung ini-expect mo na yung other side, di mag-all out na walang nakukuha pabalik. Di ba parang hindi fair, hindi pantay, ang toxic ng relationship lang. Pero alam mo, Coach Dar, gusto ko yung dinefine mo siya kung ano si quiet quitting. Kasi, here's the thing. People have the wrong notion of what quiet quitting is all about. We understand that quiet quitting is doing the bare minimum. But there are people who think quiet quitting is
It's a
doing the
bad
8
thing.
to 5 work,
Mm-mm.
'di ba? And they are blaming employers na kayo kasi masyado kayo nag-expect na dapat hanggang bahay nagtatrabaho kami. No, that's not quiet quitting. That's actually your employer being a very bad boss. Okay, what you're doing is not quiet quitting. You're just demanding respect. That's not quiet quitting. Quiet quitting is doing the bare minimum and then expecting na dahil sa ito lang naman yung ginagawa ko, babaldahin ko yung operations ng boss ko. Pahihirapan ko yung boss ko. And then aalis na lang ako. That's why people, especially employers, don't like quiet quitting. In Tagalog, we call that petics. I saw a post of Sir Edwin Ebreo the other day. It's called petics.
Correct.
Pumepetics yung empleyado. They do bare minimum, and then they think that by doing that, they could compel the employer to give them something better pay, better benefits, etc. It doesn't work that way. Okay? It doesn't work that way. You are being paid whatever is the amount, be it minimum wage or mas mataas pa, you are being paid based on how your skill was assessed. We are assuming here that the employer is a good employer. So you are being paid based on how your skill was assessed. If you exert effort, then you get paid more. If you don't exert effort, then you cannot demand more. People who have high salaries, people like, let's say, si Coach Darwin,
Hoy,
or
ano ka
any
ba?
person, ganun talaga, may laglagan. Or any person, your boss, your HR directors, your managing directors, they were able to get the salary that they have right now, not because they started na mataas kagad ang sweldo, unless na lang they are children of the owners. Diba? Everyone started, a lot of us, especially yung mga Gen Xers, aminin na natin, mga Gen Xers, mga boomers, when we started working, we don't have any concept of negotiation. We accepted what was given to us. We started with the minimum wage. Not everyone probably started at the minimum wage, but at least in my case, because bago pa lang, wala pang konsepto ng minimum wage, hindi ko alam kung magkano ba talaga minimum wage na yun. When I was told that this is your position and this is what you're going to get, masaya na ako na meron akong sarili kong sweldo. And then when I compared it with all my other classmates, ang baba pala nun. But I did not complain. I did not do the bare minimum. Kasi my thinking is, if they are giving this to me right now, if I exert effort and I show them that I can do more, and I show them that I am good at what I am doing, they will give me more. And if they will not give me more, and if I think I have exerted all effort, I will leave. I will transfer to another company who can give me more. Along the way, I will learn things. I will not burn bridges. I will always tell my boss na it's not working for us, but I thank you for the learning. And so far, wala pa akong boss na hindi ko na kinakausap. I mean, yung first, pinakaunang boss ko, friend ko siya ngayon sa Facebook, nagkakausap pa rin kami. Second, third, lahat ng mga bosses ko. And even those bosses that I've butted heads with, I still get birthday greetings from them because I keep learning and I keep pushing my own boundaries, but never yung tipong, sabi nga ni Mentor Tina, di ba? We are not born to be average. We are born to excel. We are born to face the situations and overcome the situations that we are in. And some of us are even born extra. Di ba? Ganun yun palagi. So if we do this quiet quitting, it's not actually the employers ang nahihirapan. And I'm assuming good employers, ha. If these are bad employers, go ahead, do this quiet quitting, or just resign. Just resign. 30 days lang yun. Just resign, go for another employer. You don't have to do any of this petics mode para i-compel yung employer nyo na magbago. No, if it's not working for you, resign. Don't do the quiet quitting. Because at the end of the day, it's not the employer who will suffer, it's you who will suffer. Word will get around. And it's not a big industry. Hindi naman ganun kalaki yung Pilipinas para hindi kayo magkasalubong ulit or yung kakilala mo masalubong yung dati mong boss. Word will get around. People I've worked with in the past, naririnig ko pa rin kung anong feedback ng mga tao sa kanila. And people I've worked, my bosses, they also give feedback to people that I'm working with right now. Magkakaalaman at magkakaalaman yan. So instead of quiet quitting, if you're not happy, just resign. Walang masama sa pagre-resign. Mas masama yung quiet quitting. You do the bare minimum, and then you get terminated because you're not giving me whatever it is that I need, or you're not responding to training, or you're not giving me of anything of value. You're not contributing to the company. So instead of quiet quitting, alis ka na lang, 'di ba? Mas maganda pa yung record mo and you're able to maintain the relationship with your boss. Because it might not work for now, but 5 years, 10 years, 30 years from now, what if mag-cross ulit ang landas ninyo? 'Di ba? Mas maganda na okay pa rin yung relationship nyo. Previous bosses that I've had, some of them actually got our services. And alam mo yun, I was very happy. Because when I was with them, I don't think ganun ako kagaling. Napapagalitan nila ako noon madalas. So for them to really seek me out and ask for my help, ang saya noon, ang saya na nakita nila na nag-grow ako. To hear former bosses tell me na, you've changed a lot, you've grown a lot, I am proud of you. To hear my former bosses tell me that, ang sarap sa pakiramdam. Kasi yung pa nagkasalubong kayo, ay, yan yung petics yan, pag nagtrabaho eh. Bare minimum lang yan, hindi ka puunlad dyan sa taong yan. Sakit nun, di ba? What about you, Coach Dar? Ano masasabi mo?
I think you both, Mentor Tina and Mentor Rona, already provided context on the pros and cons of quiet quitting. For me, quiet quitting is not something bad, but it's a choice. It's a choice where you would like to be in your career and where you would like to be in your life. If you would like to be average, then be average. If work-life balance is important to you, no one will question it. If you feel that you are uh, giving the bare minimum because this is how your employer is paying you, then you have two choices. You either do the work and be mediocre, or move to another company that you feel would pay you more or would drive you to really excel more. It's always a choice. And I just hope that as people leaders, as HR professionals, as mature individuals, and what we wish is to have world class Filipino employees, let's make good choices in our life because it will affect not only us, but our family and our nation as a whole. That's
There
it from
are
my end.
comments. There are
Sure.
comments from the floor from Mary Chris Soriano Vinlu, and she's sharing with us that there are serendipitous experiments like the 3M's post-it, Alexander Graham Bell's telephone. Edison Andamo is on the floor, and he's watching from Los Baños, Laguna. Flor Cruz is watching from Malabon, and her comment is, if you want to succeed, Always walk the extra mile. Erica Jane Santibanez is saying quiet quitting is versus never outshining the master. And Charlie, iba, diba? Raola Molina is saying good afternoon from Los Baños, Laguna. All right, next
Uy,
Ronan.
naalala ko
Thank
din
you.
sa doon sa serendipitous businesses. Isa doon is yung super glue. Hindi yung super glue itself
Mm,
pero alam niyo yung sa
mm,
kung yung mga mahilig manood ng CSI dyan,
mm,
aksidente yun yung super glue, aksidente nilang na-heat, napainitan. And then they realize na yung super glue, pag na-heat pala siya, kumakapit siya sa proteins present on items. So, ginamit ngayon siya for fingerprinting. Kasi meron kang naiiwan na proteins pag meron ka hinawakan. Naiiwan yung mga skin cells mo. Kumakapit doon yung super glue pag pinainitan mo siya. So, that's also one serendipitous sort of business.
Okay, next.
Okay, so let's start with let's go to our program proper. Updates from SSS Veterana.
Yes, tulad po ng sinabi namin last time, napaka-generous ngayon ni SSS dahil sila po ay nag-open na naman ng kanilang consolidation program. So if you would like to have your short-term loans consolidated, now's the best time to do that. September 30 po sila mag-o-open, so kung maghahanap po kayo right now, wala pa. Okay, wala pa yan. September 30 pa po, and this can be done online. Sino-sino lang ang pwedeng mag-claim nito, yun pong merong mga loans na nasa SLERP. Yun pong mga naka-calamity loan, emergency loan, restructured loan na nag-default na po or past due. So po pwede kayong mag-avail ng ating consolidated loan na mag-o-open on September 30. Dalawang ways po ang inyong pagbabayad. It's either bayaran nyo na ng full, yung one-time payment in full, yung inyong total loan, waive na yung mga penalties, or you can have it under installment plan wherein you have to do a down payment of at least 10% of the consolidated amount within 30 days from approval of your application. And then yung remaining balance nyo po ay po pwede siyang bayaran from 6 months to 60 months. Depende po dun sa amount na kailangang bayaran ninyo. So if it's between 5,000 to 10,000, you have 6 months for that. Po pwede kayong magbayad ng mas maaga, or i-full nyo na siya pag kayo po ay, let's say, medyo lumaki, magto-13th month kasi, meron kayo nakuhang extra pera, kahit pa sabihin natin ang in-avail ninyo is yung installment, pwede nyo siyang bayaran ng buo para tapos kagad yung problema nyo. Kasi, pag kayo po ay merong existing loan at kayo po ay nag-file for total disability, for retirement, at yung mga tinatawag natin na final benefit, ibabawas po yan doon. Okay? So, yan po, tandaan po natin. Kung kayo po ay meron pang mga loans na hindi pa nababayaran, short-term loans na hindi nababayaran, consider niyo na po kagad yung ating consolidated, yung bagong consolidation ng mga penalties, yan po ay mag-o-open ng September 30. Okay? At pinapaalala din po ni SSS ang crediting po ng ating mga benefit proceeds. Yung pong mga naapektuhan po nung sunog sa main building ng SSS last August 28, 2022, yung mga affected members po doon, ibibigyan po kayo ng notification pag available na po yung inyo pong benefit doon sa inyo pong my.sss account. So kung ano man po yung registered contact detail doon, once na available na po yung funds, doon po nila kayo in-notify pag available na at naipasok na sa inyong disbursement account. Okay? At syempre pa po, in case lang po na nagwa-wonder kayo, ano na bang nangyari sa ating Workers Investment and Savings Program or WISP o yung tinatawag nating Mandatory Provident Fund. So sinasabi po ni SSS, yan po ay nag-i-start na actually mag-earn. So pag yung pong contributions nyo po, kasama na po dyan yung inyong WISP, pag kayo ay merong monthly salary credit of more than 20,000, automatic member na po kayo ng WISP. So yan po, yung part ng WISP, nag-earn na po siya at this point, dahil tandaan po natin, 2020 pa to nagkaroon, latter part of 2020. So meron na pong mga earnings yang mga yan. Ayan. At magkano po yung earnings, Coach Dar? Next slide. Ayan, ang sabi po ng SSS, kung kayo po ay nag-start na magbayad nung kayo po ay 20 years old, ayan ang po pwede nyo pong makuha. So accumulated value, ang return po ay 9.4 times nung kung magkano man po yung na-contribute ninyo. So, made up of two parts po yan. Yung inyong WISP monthly pension of 17,823 at ang inyo pong regular retirement benefit na 17,300. So, by the time na mag-retire po kayo, if nag-start po kayo at 20 years old, may makukuha po kayong 35,123 na monthly pension kung nag-start po kayo at 20 years old na meron na kagad WISP. Now, kung kayo naman po ay nag-start at 30 years old, ang makukuha niyo po is around 23,000. At kung nag-start po kayo at around 40 years old, ang makukuha niyo po ay around 13,000, including na po yung inyong WISP monthly pension at yung inyong regular retirement benefit from SSS. Mas maagang nagsimula, mas maganda ang magiging monthly niyo po na retirement benefit. So, tulad nga ng sabi natin dito, pag 20 years old kayo nag-start, around 9 times kagad yung makukuha ninyo. Pag around 40 years old, 5 times na lang po. Pinakamaganda, huwag niyo pong hayaan na may butas ang inyong SSS contribution para talagang maa-avail niyo po at malaki ang makukuha ninyo for retirement benefit at para na rin po doon sa WISP monthly pension. Ayan.
Very quickly, Pag-ibig is happy to announce that they also have a virtual Pag-ibig mobile app where you can view your savings and annual dividends. You can see if nakapaghulog po yung kumpanya ninyo ng contributions ninyo on time. Monitor the loan balances and due dates kasi po malaki-laki din po ang penalty ng Pag-ibig kung hindi po kayo nagbabayad ng loans ninyo. And the mobile app can be accessed by members using the virtual Pag-ibig accounts to ensure data protection and security. If you cannot log on, you may visit the Pag-ibig branch to have it reset. O, diba? A lot of tao kasi parang, paano kayo re-reset? Yan, may gulay naman. Pumunta kayo sa Pag-ibig branch para tulungan po kayo ng ating mga Pag-ibig member, na Pag-ibig officers. Next po, we're also happy to remind you guys that one of the IDs you can get quickly within the day is a Pag-ibig loyalty card and Pag-ibig loyalty card plus. Some of the benefits that you can get is a free regular thin crust pizza, classic flavor. Uy, it's something that you didn't have. And again, free siya ha. And also sa Bose Coffee, you get a 20% discount on all food and beverage for a minimum purchase of 500 bucks. This is just one of the many benefits that you'll get with your Pag-ibig loyalty card. So kung kayo po ay naghahanap ng isang ID, eto na po ang i-apply ninyo. All you have to do is just go to the Pag-ibig branch to apply. Next po, for people who do not know, PhilHealth coverage for COVID-19 testing of returning OFWs is still there. It is still continuing in accordance with IATF resolution number 168 series of 2022. This specific guidelines, by the way, of PhilHealth circular will be released soon with retroactive effect to August 31, 2022. All right? Next, very important to sa mga tao. Hindi natin alam pala that, 'di ba sa atin, pag nanganak ka, nababawasan ng PhilHealth yung hospital bill mo. Pero maraming tao din kasing hindi alam na kung kayo po ay may premature birth, may benefit din po ang PhilHealth para sa atin. Ang tawag po dyan is Say Benefit Package for premature or small newborns. The amount that is given by PhilHealth that is deducted from your hospital bill is quite substantial. For example, essential intervention for 24 to less than 30 weeks baby, ang bawas po dyan is almost 35,000 pesos. Pag kunyari naman po, pag may minor ventilator support and kangaroo care for 24 weeks to less than 32 weeks, 85,000 po ang binabawasan sa bill natin. I don't know about you guys, pero minsan kasi akala natin, ng gobyerno natin, iniiwan po tayo, lalong-lalo na nagkakaroon po ng skandalo sa 15 billion pesos of the previous years. Pero for those people po na may premature birth, ang kailangan nyo talagang tanungin sa ospital is, "Ma'am, may PhilHealth po ako. May discount po ba ang PhilHealth?" Because you never really know how much you are going to get. Dito po, ay, again, uulitin ko ha, I've talked about 35,000, 85,000. Pero kung major ventilatory support and kangaroo care for those 24 weeks to less than 32 weeks old, ang ZAY benefit po is 135,000 na ibabawas po sa inyong hospital bill. Napakalaki talaga po yan. Kaya magbayad po tayo ng PhilHealth, which is only 2% contribution per month for every member. Next slide po. Mga possible complication ng baby sa premature birth, mahirap na paghinga, pagdurugo sa utang, pagkabingi, pagkabulag, ventilator care, etc., etc., etc. Don't forget po, may bawas po sa hospital bill po ninyo if your child is born premature. Ano ang sanhe ng premature birth? Napakaraming sanhe. Possible problema po ninyo, pero possible hindi din ninyo problema. Kaya huwag na nating iproblema ang hindi natin kayang i-control. Next po.
Okay, now going for our sponsors. El Puerto Marina Beach Resort and Vacation Club is a partner of the Philippines HR Group and the HR Cafe. If your family, your company, or your team members would like to do an outing or would like to avail of any hotel or resorts, just message El Puerto Marina Beach Resort and Vacation Club in Facebook. They have beach resorts and hotels in Boracay, in Pangasinan, and also in Palawan. Just inform them that you're a member of the Philippines HR Group and you are entitled to special rates and discounts. Also, eShield is offering 15% exclusive discount when you avail of the eShield for your company. eShield actually is a wearable health device that monitors the health and wellness of your employees. Kasama na po dyan yung blood pressure, yung heart rate, yung weight and everything, even GPS ng employees, matatrack nyo. So eShield is a partner of the Philippines HR Group and HR Cafe to promote healthy lifestyles for your company's employees. You can reach out to them at www.shield.me/ph dot HR. Okay, so or you can look for eShield through Google. Now, if you have any questions about the Philippines, if you have any questions, you can post it at the Philippines HR Group Facebook main page, or you can also join us at the Philippines HR Group LinkedIn group page. Just search for Philippines HR Group. Also, we encourage everyone to please follow and like the FB page of the HR Cafe, Usapang Trabaho, Buwet Iba Pa. Kasi po, pag nilike niyo yung page namin, you have access to all of the 106 previous episodes of the HR Cafe. Also, if you would like to review previous Philippines HR Group Learning editions, it's also in YouTube. Now, if your company would like to be a sponsor of the Philippines HR Group or the HR Cafe, please reach out to any of our mentors, Mentors Tina, Mentor Shona, Mentor Burns, or yours truly. You can also send us a message through our FB page, HR Cafe, Usapang Trabaho, Buwet Iba Pa. Okay? And as promised, we are now at the second part of our program, which is the free learning program of the HR Cafe. And our guest for today is no other than Attorney Pol Sangalang, who will be discussing about HR and the Sun Tzu Art of War. Let me just introduce to you Attorney Pol Sangalang. Attorney Pol is actually one of the very few lawyers who supported the Philippines HR Group in the onset. He is a business lawyer, a labor law coach, a corporate counsel, and a professional speaker. Presently, he's a founding partner of Sangalang and Garland Business Lawyers. He's a solo director of Sangalang Study Central, OPC, an online training center. He's a founder and executive publisher of Paladins of Law, an online publication, and a resource speaker of Arriva, Learn More, Truly Rich Club, and a lot more organizations. He is also a mentor and angel entrepreneur, together with Dean Pax, Lapids Alliance, and leads More and Advocates Incorporated, a lifetime member and past chapter president and former legal aid attorney of the Integrated Bar of the Philippines, IBP, PPLM chapter or Pasay Parañaque Las Piñas Muntinlupa chapter. He's a member of the People's Management Association of the Philippines or PMAP, a member of the Philippine Chamber of Commerce and Industry in Quezon City, a platinum member of Brother Bo Sanchez Sulirich Club, and a charter member and past president of Rotary Club of Makati, McKinley, RI District 3830, a charter member of the Alab Toastmasters Club, and a member of the Kapisanan ng Broadcaster ng Pilipinas or KBP. He studied at the University of the Philippines, took up College of Law, and also College of Economics and Management. He's also a graduate in high school, the Philippine High School Science. He was executive director of National Labor Relations Commission and DOLE. That's the reason why he's really an expert when it comes to labor issues. Chief Legislative Officer Director of the Senate President Pro Tempore, Senate Committee of Labor, Employment, and Human Resource Development, a University Legal Counsel of the UP or University of the Filipinas, Managing Partner, Senyeres Tuason Sangalang Balbin and Amansec Law Office, Managing Partner, formerly of the Parungaw Singzon Sangalang Malimas and Kapasin Law Office, a lecturer of mandatory continuing legal education, a professor at the Philippine Law School and Angelicum College, USC System, executive life coach in Integrative Learning International Incorporated, and a host of Equal Justice at DZRJ 8:10 a.m. Ladies and gentlemen, it's an honor for us to again guest our speaker for today, Attorney Pol Sangalang. Hi, Attorney Paul. Magandang hapon po.
Hello, good afternoon. Magandang hapon sa inyong lahat and thank you for inviting me again. This is my second time here. I'm always happy to be here. Coach Darwin. Hi.
Ladies and
Hi, Coach
gentlemen,
Tina. Hi,
Attorney
Mentor.
Paul is not a quiet quitter. He's really not. He's really not a
Yes.
quiet quitter.
Halatang halata naman.
Halatang halata eh, di ba? We're very
Oo.
proud to have you here today.
Sabi ko nga,
Yes.
how to be you po.
Ang gaganda ng mga take nyo sa quiet quitting. May mga hugot-hugot pa.
Okay, Attorney Paul,
Okay.
will give you the floor so that our audience will be able to
Yes.
learn from this very rich topic that you have for us today. And of course, a lot of people, yung mga team replay, I'm sure, talagang panonoorin nila ito. So let's start. We'll just be
Yes,
at the
yes.
background, sir. Let's
Okay.
just give me a few seconds.
Coach
Yes, sir.
Darwin, yan. Okay. So, ayan. So, thank you, Coach Darwin, for assisting me with my presentation. So, very interesting topic about Sun Tzu and how to connect his book, The Art of War. For those who do not know Sun Tzu or the book, The Art of War, ganito po yan. Let me give you a very brief background. But for the people kasi who are into Sun Tzu, they know that this is a book about strategy. When you talk about Sun Tzu, when you mention Sun Tzu, it's about strategy, no? Strategy and tactics. So, background. Who is Sun Tzu? He's a Chinese philosopher and general. He existed more than 2,000 years ago in ancient China. 2,500 years ago. That is 500 years earlier than Jesus Christ, when Jesus Christ walked the earth. No? So, ganun pong katagal na si Sun Tzu when he was alive in this planet. And he is being credited for writing or compiling the book called The Art of War. No, it's a military strategy book. However, people who have read this book have been inspired to apply this book not only on military warfare, combat, no, yung mga barila, no, nagagamit rin yung mga principles and strategies and tactics, mga suggestion ni Sun Tzu dito, mga recommendations niya, nagagamit rin sa many other areas of life, particularly sa politics, no? So politicians are using Sun Tzu for their strategies and tactics. sports, no, yung mga coach, sports coach, they use Sun Tzu. Lawyers, no, like me, I'm a litigator, so I get a lot of tips and techniques from Sun Tzu. And also mga business owners, no, because business is the modern warfare, no. When we talk about business, it's all about competition, market share, no, how to increase your share, how to defeat the direct competition. So yung mga marketing strategies, mga digital marketing strategies, mga sales, no? So, and also in negotiation and diplomacy. So, ang dami pong application ng principles of Sun Tzu. And then, I got this, while I was discussing and reading about Sun Tzu and getting inspiration, as a labor lawyer, naisip ko, no, I suddenly had this light bulb moment, no, biglang eureka, no? I discovered na ito palang mga principles na makikita natin dito sa book of strategy na ito, Strategy and Tactics, Sun Tzu's The Art of War, can also be applied sa human resource management, no? Human resource, HR. So that's why yes, that's why maganda yung topic na ito, because I really have modules, no? I do webinars, I do live face-to-face workshop. I have a two-day course on Sun Tzu's The Art of War and labor relation. No? 2 days yun. So it's discussing Sun Tzu, the principles of Sun Tzu, as well as principles of labor law and strategies in handling labor cases and other labor dispute. That's a 2-day. Then I have a 1-day shorter version, and I also have a half-day. Yung half-day, that's only 4 hours. And just to get a lot of content, no, it's mostly lecture, so wala masyadong mga discussion and activities, so ideally 1 whole day. So yun talaga ang sinasuggest ko. Now for this session, I have probably less than 1 hour, so this is just patikim, no, patikim. Kaya so let's get on with it. Next slide please, coach. Ayan. There's a lot of people have been inspired by Sun Tzu. There are plenty of books, no? Sun Tzu for women, Sun Tzu for managers, Sun Tzu for politicians, Sun Tzu for diplomats, no? And why is Sun Tzu so influential? And it's even a required reading in many master, PhD, and even military colleges, no, all over the world, because based on this quotation from one of the authors who was inspired by Sun Tzu, Stephen C. Combs, no? Warfare is analogous to persuasion. No? Yung makapersuade ka, makakonvince ka ng tao, no? That's considered a win because it's a battle of hearts and minds. When you're talking about war, you're not talking about physical war, yung shooting war, yung may barel, may espada, may sibat. No, you're talking about war. It's a battle of hearts and minds. That's where Sun Tzu comes in. Although medyo violent yung title, Art of War, but we are going to apply this in non-violent areas or arenas. Okay, next, coach. Next slide, please. So, when I do the 1 day, the 4 hours, or the 2-day workshop, I discuss 6 key principles of Sun Tzu. 6, but for lack of time, I cannot discuss the first 5. But I will go to the last key principle because this is where HR and Sun Tzu really interact with each other. So this is the 6th and last of the key principles, no? And allow me to read from Sun Tzu's book. Sun Tzu said, "Regard your soldiers as your children, and they will follow you into the deepest valleys. Look on them as your own beloved sons, and they will stand by you even unto death." So si Sun Tzu kasi, because alam niyo naman, his book was written 2,500 years ago. So medyo parang poetic, no? Malalalim, matatalinhaga yung kanyang mga passages, yung mga sinulat niya. Para kang nagbabasa ng Bible. Para kang nagbabasa ng mga Confucius, no? Mga Lao Tzu, no? And it's up to us to connect this to our concerns. For me as a lawyer, nakaka-connect ako, nakaka-relate ako, no? Because I relate this in my practice when I handle cases, legal dispute, and when I do negotiation and settlement, and also when I also discuss things with my client. Marami sa kanila have labor and HR issues. So I also draw on Sun Tzu when I give my advice to them. So for me, this is Sun Tzu talking about leadership and engagement, which is key principle number 6. Next slide, please. And just to give you a rundown, no, we're not, as I mentioned, hindi po natin mapapag-usapan yung key principles 1 to 5. No? We will go to the last key principle on leadership and engagement. But the first 5 key principles, just to give you an overview, is about strategic and tactical planning. That's the first key principle. Second is about competitive advantage. Third is competitive positioning. Fourth, timing and momentum. Number 5, this is about influencing perception. And dito tayo magko-concentrate. Leadership and engagement. Next slide, please. So first, under the 6th principle of Sun Tzu, meron tayong mga sub-principle. Sun Tzu's principle of engagement. Because meron kasi si Sun Tzu, yung concept niya, syempre may kalaban. Sun Tzu lived during the time of ancient China na talagang violent. Warfare, no? Battles is always going around. Violence is the culture, no? Violent talaga yung culture nila, and death and destruction is just normal things that happen in their daily life, no? And so Sun Tzu has to concentrate on external opponents, so yung mga kalaban niya, but has to maintain an organization, an army, a disciplined army, an army that can defend their kingdom, an army that can launch offensive. So important po yung to maintain yung kanyang organization, no? So as Sun Tzu is not only a philosopher, he's a general, and based on history, no, he has one major succeeded in a lot of his military campaigns. So ito yung first principle niya under engagement and leadership. Pick out the right men, no? Sinabi niya yan sa book niya. So clearly, di ba, hiring, mako-connect natin dito that Sun Tzu applies, no? Or kailangan even 2,500 years ago, basic HR principles apply. Pick out the right men, no? Pag mag-hire ka, you have to diba, yung sa recruitment and placement, you have to put them in positions where they are most effective, no? Second principle po, next, yan, thank you. When you engage in actual fighting, sabi ni Sun Tzu, so na-hire mo na, meron ka ng mga gamitin natin to by analogy, no? At Sun Tzu is organizing his army. So syempre pag army yan, squads, platoon, regiment, 'di ba? Battalion. Pero pag tayo, 'di ba, dito na tayo sa modern day. So we're organizing teams, we're organizing units, division departments, no? Production lines. So yun yung mga business units, yung mga ino-organize natin. So after we recruit, no, and we are now going into the actual operations and activities, no. Sabi ni Sun Tzu, when you engage in actual fighting, if victory is long and coming, syempre bago naman lumabas yung result, it will take time, no? The men's weapons will become dull and their ardor will become damp. So sinasabi ni Sun Tzu sa mga leaders niya, sa mga officers niya, this is the reality. This is human nature, no? So ang tao talaga, after you recruit them, maybe they're excited, they're enthusiastic, but as the time goes by, as the days, weeks, months, years goes by, ano rin yan, di ba? Nagiging routine, naboboard, no? Nawawala na yung excitement. So, makikita mo dito, alam na ni Sun Tzu ang human nature at the time. Pag na-regular na ang isang employee, lumalabas na ang totoong kulay, ang totoong character, no? Pag hindi pa siya regular, pakitang gilas, di ba? Para ma-regularize. Tapos pag regular na, lumalabas na. No? So, human nature yan, which Sun Tzu understands. So, ibig sabihin, we have to intervene. Yun yung point ni Sun Tzu. We have to intervene to keep them motivated. Yun ang point niya rito. Next slide, please. Next slide, coach. Ayan. So, kaya sabi ni Sun Tzu, in his book, he said, if you want to win, no, he will win or you will win whose army is animated by the same spirit throughout all its ranks. So based do sa kay Sun Tzu, so yung kanilang structure, meron siyang the commander, yung top leadership or top management, then may middle management, yung mga officers niya, and then yung mga soldiers, yung rank and file. So kailangan may esprit de corps, no, the same spirit. Kailangan motivated yung top, motivated yung middle, motivated yung rank and file, no? So kailangan, kasi kung motivated lang yung mga bossing, yung mga matataas na hindi naman nila makascade, hindi nila ma-infect ng kanilang motivation at inspiration yung kanilang mga followers, wala rin, no? So kailangan talaga may same spirit. That's why we go into a lot of activities to engage, no? Meron tayong mga team building and may mga pakulo pa tayo, and then we have socials, no? So to encourage, no? Coach, medyo na tayo, na advance tayo, pakibalik. na sobrahan ng click. Okay, more pa. Nasaan? Okay, next. Ayan. Oops. Ayan. So, okay. Next. Yan. Okay. Now, ito naman. Sabi ni Sun Tzu, be careful. Sabi niya doon sa kanyang mga generals at saka mga officers. Sabi niya, there are 6 ways of courting defeat. No, ito yung internal. Ito yung anay. Ito yung, kumbaga, kung ikaw ay, di ba, in a company, in a business organization, may mga officers dyan na talagang outward looking kasi they're looking at the customer, the clients, as well as the competition. And they're predicting kung saan ilalagay, saan pwesto yung corporation through strategic planning. But Sun Tzu also warned na wag lang ang focus lagi sa kalaban or sa opposition. Kailangan, importante rin yung internal mo. So basically ito yung, 'di ba, kung sa HR, ito yung ito yung area where you operate, yung how to keep the organization efficient and effective. So sabi niya there are 6 pitfalls which must be carefully noted by the general who has attained a responsible post. Next slide. So these are the 6. Flight, insubordination, deterioration, ruin, chaos, and rout. So I will explain each of them in 6 different slides. Next slide, please. So ito, maihahambing natin to. We can compare flight, desertion sa yung high turnover rate, yung maraming nagre-resign, nag-quit, nagre-resign na, nag-abandon. Minsan nga hindi na nag-30 days, nagre-render ng 30 days, umaalis na, nag-aalisan. Kailan ito pwedeng mangyari? No? So sabi ni Sun Tzu, other conditions being equal, if one force is hurled against another force 10 times its size, the result will be flight of the former. Anong ibig sabihin nito? So by analogy, yung army ni Sun Tzu, pinalusob niya sa isang napakalaking army. 1:10 ang ratio. Yung kalaban, 10 yung kalaban is to 1 soldier. Ibig sabihin, sa modern day interpretation natin dito, ito yung bibigyan mo sila ng mga impossible goals. Bibigyan mo sila ng impossible quota. Tapos galit ka pa sa mga tao mo, hindi nila ma-achieve. And then parang tinatrato mo na silang slave, no? Because talagang pag 10:1, 'di ba? Hindi yun. Kumbaga parang overwork yung mga tao mo. So what happened? They will resign. They will desertion. They will desert your ranks. No? So kailangan, if you're an HR, dapat tama lang, merong proper work-life balance yung mga tao mo, yung mga soldiers mo. Next slide. Insubordination. Ito naman, sabi ni Sun Tzu, when common soldiers, or in other words, rank and file, are too strong, and their officers, ito yung mga supervisors and leaders mo, are too weak, the result is insubordination. Ibig sabihin na bubuli nabubuli yung mga supervisors and leaders mo ng rank and file. That's ang ibig sabihin ni Sun Tzu dito, dapat yung mga supervisors, yung mga officers mo must be equipped, must have the necessary tools, no, and the confidence to lead. So kaya importante yan. Otherwise, kakayanin sila ng mga rank and file, ng mga subordinate nila. Next slide. Ito naman, deterioration. This is the reverse. The officers naman are too strong. So, and the rank and file naman are too weak. No, this results in deterioration, which is also not good. Sala sa init, sala sa lamig. Kailangan pag nangyari kasi na masyadong mga maangas ang mga supervisors at ang mga leaders mo, what happens? Abuso, no? Oppression ang nangyayari, no? Abuso. So hindi rin po maganda 'yon. Next slide. This is another situation, ruin or collapse. So medyo complicated ang situation na ito na dinidescribe ni Sun Tzu. So let's read, no? Medyo mahaba. When the higher officers are angry and insubordinate, ibig sabihin may division, no? May alitan, may politika sa loob ng organization. Galit, no? Hindi sila satisfied, may grievance, no? Disgruntled. And on meeting the enemy, give battle on their own account from a feeling of resentment. So, kanya-kanyang lakad ang nangyayari, kanya-kanyang diskarte, hindi na humihingi ng compass from the top, no? Before the general can tell them whether or not he's in a position to fight, the result is ruin. Kasi meron pong may division within the organization, no? Hindi sumusunod sa isang kumpas, hindi naghihintay ng advice from the top, no? Kanya-kanyang diskarte, gagawin ko anong gustong gawin. So we have may mga junior manager kayo, may mga supervisor na may sariling isip, no? Hindi sumusunod sa policy, sa protocol or sa instruction, no? So, 'yan, ruin or collapse. Next slide. Chaos or disorganization. Ito naman, may problema yung top leadership. Importante rin po kasi ang top management. If the general is weak, or in other words, the top management and not disciplined, ay sila pa ang mga hindi disiplinado, no? Mga di ba? Because culture starts from the top, no? Culture starts from the top. His instructions not clear, no? Magulo ang mga policies, ang memos na inilalabas. The officers and troops lack discipline. Parang pinagsama-sama na yata ang hindi maganda dito, yung mga officers and troops niya wala pang disiplina. Chaos po ang mangyayari dito talaga. So magulong organization to. Next slide. Rout or setback. This is similar to chaos. When a general unable to estimate the enemy's strength. So ito naman, it's a matter of lack of planning, lack of foresight, no, lack of intelligence or data, no, incomplete data, gumawa ng hakbang, no, hinugot lang sa ere, ang mga plano gagawin niya by gut feel, trying to wing it, allows an inferior force to engage a larger one. So because kulang nga sa sa analysis, kulang sa strategy, or hurls a weak detachment against a powerful one and neglects to place peak soldiers in the front rank. The result must be rout. So ang sinasabi naman dito ni Sun Tzu, kailangan po planning. In essence, if you fail to plan, you plan to fail. Next slide. So, balik tayo dito sa full version, no? I mentioned that this is the basis of the 6, no? Yung key principle number 6. Regard your soldiers as your children and they will follow you into the deepest valley. Let's analyze. Let's analyze this first paragraph, no? Or first sentence. Ang sinasabi ni Sun Tzu dito, no? If you're a general, even in the military, and Sun Tzu is a general, no? He's commanding soldiers sa army, no? He does not look at his soldiers as mere tools, no? They are not machines. They are not production unit. They are people. And not only people, ang tingin ni Sun Tzu sa kanyang mga soldiers ay kanyang mga anak. his own beloved sons and children. So you can imagine the relationship, no? So sinasabi ni Sun Tzu dito, it's all about relationship. When you have a very good, strong relationship with your people, no? They will follow you into the deepest valley. Walang laglagan. And alam nyo, gera yan eh. It's a matter of life and death, no? When you lead troops into battle, hindi mo alam kung yan na yung huling araw mo dito sa mundo. So talagang the bond of brotherhood or sisterhood within the military is that close. Kaya iisipin natin, tayo nasa civilian organization tayo, non-military organization. How can we have that kind of bonding, that kind of cohesiveness, that kind of loyalty to each other, di ba? So ito pinapakita ni Sun Tzu, relationship is the key. No, look unto them as your own beloved sons and daughters, and they will stand by you even unto death. No, so hindi po ito yung ano lang, napaka parang cold, no? So si Sun Tzu, ito yung advice niya sa kanyang mga officer. Next slide. So ngayon, how do you build that kind of relationship? So sabi ni Sun Tzu ito, so he further elaborated on that. Sabi niya, if soldiers are punished before they have grown attached to you, they will be disobedient. And if they are disobedient, they will be practically useless. Now, this is about discipline. Discipline is essentially obedience and disobedience. No? Obedient soldiers or obedient employees are more or less disciplined, and those who are disobedient, yun ang masasabi nating undisciplined. So we're talking about here soldiers. Si Sun Tzu is talking about soldiers. But let's interpret this in modern language. Anong ibig sabihin ng if soldiers are punished before they have grown attached to you, they will be disobedient? Ang ibig sabihin nito, alam naman natin sa trabaho, talagang may mga deadlines, may mga kailangan gawin, di ba? May mga tamang processes, may mga quota, may mga targets, may mga tamang procedures. So, may mga instructions tayo na talagang susundin. Now, if we're too harsh at the start, no? At talagang parang pinapagalitan natin, dinaddown natin yung tao, at the start pa lang, hindi mo pa na-establish. When you talk about attach, that means developing the relationship. So, pag nauna yung mga targets mo and deadlines before you work on the relationship with the people under you, mangyayari nun, they would be disobedient. Yun yung most probably that will be the result. If they are disobedient, because hindi nila nakikita, you don't care about them, they will be practically useless. Now ito naman, ang sinabi ni Sun Tzu, dapat hindi sala sa init, sala sa lamig. Sabi ni Sun Tzu dito, if soldiers have become attached to you and punishments are not enforced, they will still be useless. Ito naman, sabi, hindi rin maganda that you prioritize relationship but forget about itong mga targets natin, yung mga instruction, yung protocols and processes. Hindi rin maganda yon, because your soldiers, your people will also be useless, no? Ang mangyayari dyan, para silang magiging spoiled, no? Kasi parang magiging ang trato nyo ay friends, no? Parang barkada, when in fact you are part of an organization, part of a hierarchy, and you really have targets and goals, no? So kailangan sabay. Ang sinasabi ni Sun Tzu, sabayan. Relationship or attachment must go in hand with the business at hand, yung mga targets and quotas. Next slide, please. So ito ang sabi ni Sun Tzu. Therefore, ito ang formula. This is the formula to certain victory in any organization. Therefore, soldiers must be treated with benevolence, meaning kindness, generosity in terms of relationship building, and commanded by means of iron discipline. So, dapat tama yung timpla. This is the road to certain victory. In short, no, paano ba itong tamang timpla na ito? Simple lang yan. Sinabi ni Sun Tzu, binigay na niya yung clue. Treat your people like your own beloved children. The relationship is like a family, a parent and his child, no? pag ang isang parent sa kanyang child, alam niya na the welfare and the interests and the future of his children is always top of mind, no? Kung anong gusto niya yung ikabubuti ng kanyang mga children, like a good father or a good mother. But at the same time, ayaw niya maging spoiled yung mga anak niya. Gusto niya maging mature, gusto niya maging responsible, gusto niya maging productive, gusto niya maging successful yung mga anak niya. So, nandyan yung disiplina. Hindi nalalayo ang disiplina, but they must be treated with benevolence as if they are your beloved children. Next. Ayan. So, now, when enforcing discipline, may sinabi si Sun Tzu regarding clarity of command, no? And ito, maganda tong topic na ito, itong area na to, kasi this is about when we are coming up with company policies, when we are drafting memos. Merong tip si Sun Tzu dito. Sabi ni Sun Tzu, important ang clarity of command. If words of command are not clear and distinct, if orders are not thoroughly understood, the general is to blame because it's communication 101, di ba? What is the basic rule of communication? Who has the responsibility in communicating to the target audience? It is the communicator. So if you are the leader, if you're the general, you are the top management, you're the commander, no? It is your job, it is your responsibility to make sure that your instructions are clear, your policies are clear, clearly written, clearly conveyed, clearly explained, no? Because mahirap namang i-blame natin at isa-sanction pa natin yung mga tao natin when in fact hindi tayo magaling sa communication. So sabi ni Sun Tzu, 'di ba? Communication is important. Kung hindi ka makapag-communicate properly with your people, ikaw ang may kasalanan nun. If they are not obeying you, no? Then ito naman. So kaya para malaman natin kung sino ang may responsible. Now, kung talagang you really invested in becoming a good communicator, no, all leaders must be communicators. All good leaders are good communicators. Now, sabi ni Sun Tzu, but if your order or if his order are clear, no, and the soldiers nevertheless disobey, hindi sinunod yung instruction mo, hindi sinunod yung policy, hindi sinunod yung memo mo, then it is the fault of their officers. So ito, medyo controversial to, no? Let me explain. So ang hindi sumunod, ang nag-disobey, ay yung mga rank and file, yung mga soldiers. Pero bakit sabi ni Sun Tzu, ang dapat managot yung officers? Oh, ito. This is one area na maraming nagtataka. Bakit ganito ang point of view ni Sun Tzu? Again, let me repeat. Si General, ibig top management, naglabas ng instruction. Hindi sinunod ng rank and file. Sabi ni Sun Tzu, hindi sinunod ng rank and file, sino ang may kasalanan? Dapat ba nating i-punish yung rank and file dahil hindi nila sinunod? Sabi ni Sun Tzu, hindi. Ang dapat nating bigyan ng sanction dito yung mga officers nila, in short, yung mga supervisors at yung mga leaders. Di ba? Bakit ganun? Bakit yung mga supervisors at mga leaders ang bibigyan mo ng sanctions? Hindi naman sila ang nag-disobey. Kasi, di ba? Ano yan command responsibility. Dito papasok yung principle of command responsibility. Yung mga leaders, mga supervisors, yung mga officers, they have the responsibility to make sure na sumunod yung mga rank and file, no? So yun yung kanyang true command responsibility. Why? Clear yung instruction from the top The orders are clear. Okay, so magandang discussion to. So pag nag-workshop at sa seminar ako, I spend a lot of time discussing this particular topic, this particular area because iba't iba yung lumalabas na point of view ng mga tao dito, no? Next slide please. Yan. So, if in training soldiers' commands are repeatedly and consistently enforced, the army will be well disciplined. If not, discipline will be bad. So ito, this is from the book of Sun Tzu translated into English. There are importante dito yung training, no? Training for iron discipline, no? Ang iniisip natin, how do we maintain organizational discipline, workplace discipline, employee discipline? So, and si Sansu nagbibigay na ng mga tips and techniques dito. As you can see, highlighted yung words dito, repeatedly and consistently. Important yan. And we can imagine yung military discipline, no? Papaano na-instill sa isang military organization yung military discipline among the soldiers. So sabi ni Sansu, ito repeatedly and consistently enforced dapat. And pag hindi siya repeatedly and consistently enforced, then discipline will be bad. Now, how do you relate that to a civilian organization, a business organization na hindi naman military? No? So how do we do that? No? So consistently, magagamit natin yan. We can relate sa consistently by being impartial, na walang favoritism, walang nepotism. Repeatedly, we have to repeat, no? Kailangan constant communication. Minsan kasi, what happens is, after the first day orientation, sinabi natin yung code of discipline, ano ang bawal, ano ang pwede, on the first day or first week of employment, and then kailan mauulit yun? So, kailangan po na constant reminder, repeatedly. We cannot expect people to obey company policies kung hindi po natin paulit-ulit na inuulit sa kanila at nire-remind sila. So, importante kay Sansu yung repetition. No? Kaya ang mga soldiers, may mga drills, nagmamarcha sila, harap sa kaliwa, harap sa kanan, so that they would be conditioned into obeying. Kailangan itong repetition. Now, another technique that Sansu shared to instill discipline is to show confidence in your people. No? If a general shows confidence in his men but always insists on his orders being obeyed, the gain will be mutual. Anong ibig sabihin ni Sansu about confidence? Bibigyan mo siya ng slowly, like a child, no? Pag ang child lumalaki, no, into adulthood, no? Bata yan, baby, syempre talagang alagaan mo yan. Pero habang lumalaki yan, unti-unti binibigyan mo siya ng obligation, binibigyan mo siya ng responsibility. Kunwari, habang let's say toddler pa siya, later nakakaintindi na, nakakausap mo, sasabihin mo sa kanya, pag tapos ka na maglaro sa laruan mo, itatabi mo. Paggising mo sa umaga, make the bed. No? So habang lumalaki sila, then you give them more responsibility, o magpatulong ka ng pagwawalis. Pag medyo malaki na, magpatulong kang maglaba o magwash ng dishes, no? Yung maghugas ng mga plato at pinggan. Later on, as they mature, you can give them more responsibility, and people appreciates being given more responsibility because ano nila yun parang you're conveying to them you are confident in them, in their capability, in their intelligence. You are giving them as they mature based sa kakayahan nila. But always, no, sabi ni Sansu, always make sure to tell them, ikaw ang boss, no? Kung sa bahay, kung sa pamilya, ikaw ang parent, ikaw ang mother, ikaw ang father. Kung sa company yan, ikaw yung manager, ikaw yung supervisor. Hindi tayo friends. Hindi tayo friendship lang dito. Meron tayong hierarchy na sinusunod. Ako yung boss. So although you give them discretion, you give them confidence, sometimes you give them the opportunity to commit mistakes so that they will learn from their own mistakes. No? That's how you empower them and show confidence. Next slide, please. Next slide, please. Ayan. So, ito naman, sinabi rin ni Sansu, rewards for good service should not be deferred a single day. Wag nating ipagpabukas. Pag may nakita tayong good job, no? Accomplishment, ano natin, wag na nating hintayin. Yung sa next, sa ano na lang, sa annual evaluation ko na lang ibibigay, sa annual appraisal ko na lang ibibigay. Huwag nating hintayin yon, yung mga periodic appraisal. Maganda, immediate feedback. Rewards for good service should not be deferred a single day. Immediate feedback. Immediate feedback kasi that will encourage them to give more, to do better. Next slide, please. So in summary, no, maraming sinabi si Sun Tzu and medyo malalim at matalinhaga, but we can break it down to 5 things. Repetition, especially yung mga company policies, yung mga code of discipline, yung mga rules and regulation, dapat may constant reminder. Hindi lang during the first day or first week of orientation yan. Dapat may ano yan, periodically nare-remind sila. Second, consistency, meaning fair, impartial, walang palakasan, walang sipsipan. Pag nagkaroon na po kasi ng mga favorites dyan, ano na yan politika na yan kampi-kampihan na yan. Masisira po ang discipline when we play favorites, no? Kailangan consistent po tayo, wala tayong sinasanto. Kung ito ang regardless kung sino yung gumawa. Number 3 is empowerment. So ito yung showing to them that you're confident in their capacity, in their capability as they mature. No, you give them more responsibility so that they can learn more skills, and eventually they can be promoted, and hanggang sa no, so happy ka na they rise up from the ranks. Number 4, strict enforcement. If you're their leader, if you're their boss, no, make sure na you draw the line, no? Hindi kayo barkada. Ano? So strict enforcement. And number 5, positive reinforcement. So this is positive conditioning so that they would be motivated and inspired to always do good work. Next slide, please. So a leader leads by example, not by force. No, this is coming from Sun Tzu, who's a general, who's during his time he is considered ruthless. No, talagang namumugot ng ulo yan. But ang sa kanya, no, when you're the leader, when you're the boss, the best way to lead is through example. Next slide. Yeah. So from his book, he said, when one treats people with benevolence, justice, and righteousness, and repose confidence in them, the army will be united in mind, and all will be happy to serve their leaders. Next slide. Ito naman, no? So meron din si Sun Tzu, na-cover niya ang maraming areas. Fortunately, we have only less than an hour to discuss this. So there is also Sun Tzu on risk management, no? So what if your own soldiers become your enemy? Nangyayari yan. When there's a labor dispute, when may mga nag-organize ng union and medyo sila palaban, and talagang they are confrontational na sa management, no? So the good fighters of old first put themselves beyond the possibility of defeat. So sabi ni Sun Tzu, risk management lang ito. Parang parang disaster management. Earthquake, come and go. Typhoon, come and go, di ba? Floods, no? This happens every year, year in, year out. Alam mo na ito, it's just it's not a question of when will it happen. It's just a question of it's not a question of will it happen. It's a question of when, no? Not will it happen, no? So you risk management. Marami pag nagtayo ka ng business and you form an organization and you hire employees, talagang may mga grievances diyan. Hindi yan mawawala. There will be problem or difficult people to deal with, difficult employees to deal with. There will be labor problems. There will be labor disputes. There will be claims. Because you cannot please everybody. There will be possibility na papasukin ka ng mga union organizers. No, so you have to plan ahead, no, through your risk management. Sabi ni Sun Tzu, the good fighters of old first put themselves beyond the possibility of defeat through planning, strategic planning. Okay, next slide. Now ito, may sinabi si Sun Tzu about this. Kaya lang, let me digress to another author. His name is Niccolo Machiavelli, because he said it better than Sun Tzu. But Sun Tzu also said something similar to this, kaya lang medyo scattered. Kaya para mas compact, I just quoted another author, si Niccolo Machiavelli. Sinabi ni Niccolo Machiavelli, it is safer for leaders to be feared rather than loved, if it is impossible to be both, in order to avoid a revolt or deal with evil men. Now, Machiavelli is often misquoted. This is the actual quotation. Machiavelli is misquoted, and he often, it is mentioned na he's espousing fear, 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 no? Na pag sinabing Machiavellian ka, parang despotic ka, draconian, dictatorial, no? But if you look closely at what Machiavelli is actually saying, he's actually saying it is better to be feared and at the same time loved, no? Parang magulang. 'Di ba dapat pag may respeto dapat tayo sa parents natin, no? Hindi natin BFF ang parents natin, magulang natin sila. They are, sabi nga sa Bible, we have to respect our mothers and our fathers, our parents, no? So that's the kind of fear, respect, no? Like fear of God, no? God-fearing, respect, no? At the same time love. Ngayon, sabi ni Machiavelli, mahirap eh. It's really sometimes impossible to be both feared and at the same time loved. Now, kung hindi kaya, no, hindi kaya ng powers mo, ng capacity mo, it is safer, sabi niya. Hindi better ha, it is safer. Hindi niya sinabing better. He said it is safer to be feared rather than loved. Why? Because of human nature. No, may mga taong they will really test your patience, they will really become unreasonable, and they will alam mo naman 'yan. Na nangyayari 'yan when you deal with when you deal with the human being, no? Not everyone is created the same way. May kanya-kanyang takbo ng isip. So dapat always maintain that dignified distance, no? But at the same time, parang isang parent, no, traditional parent. Next slide. So these are famous Sun Tzu quote, no? The greatest victory is that which requires no battle. This is usually ginagamit sa mga memes, no? The greatest victory is that which requires no battle. Next slide. Next slide, please. Yan. The supreme art of war is to subdue the enemy without fighting. Ito yung pinaka-favorite line ko ni Sun Tzu. And dito ako na-intrigue. Dito talaga ako nag-fall in love kay Sun Tzu. This is the first time that I had this kind of when I'm reading strategies and tactics from different authors, and parang si Sun Tzu, kay Sun Tzu ko lang nabasa itong the supreme art of war is to subdue the enemy without fighting. How can you do that? Doon ako na-intrigue eh. How can you subdue someone? How can you defeat someone without fighting them? Eh, as a lawyer, as a litigator, I'm trained, di ba, to handle cases, win cases, defend cases. How do I subdue my enemy without fighting them? So this really intrigued me. And so I research further. No, kaya nakita ko dito ito. Maraming sagot dito, maraming explanation. But one explanation dito is one approach on how to defeat your enemy, how to subdue your enemy without fighting them. Ito lang, simple. Make your enemy your friend. Make your enemy your friend. Siyempre, kung friend mo na siya, 'di ba? Hindi mo na siya kailangang awayin. 'Di ba? Tama? Make sense? Ano ba? Makaka-relate ba tayo? 'Di ba? How to subdue an enemy, make them your friend. And you don't have to fight them anymore. 'Di ba? Like in politics, it's numbers game. The more, the better. The majority wins. Ganun po yan, di ba? Next slide. Ayan. So, by the way, before I close down, let me invite you to ask Attorney Pol on October 7. This is Facebook Live. Plugging lang po. Wala pang meeting ID at wala pang passcode, but it's going to be Facebook Live. This is a 2-hour session where I parang public service po. It's a legal aid. Anyone is invited. Everyone is invited. And you can invite your friends, your colleagues, your clients, your customer, your team, no, your associates, to listen or even to join me in my Zoom room. I will announce the Zoom meeting ID and the passcode later. You can ask any question, ask me anything under the sun, as long as legalities pong involved, as long as it's a legal question. And I do that for free, no? So it's completely free, and it's on Facebook, also in Zoom. So next slide. In closing, let me share to you something that I connect with Sun Tzu and with HR. Now, this is from the Bible. It's one of my favorite verses in the Bible. Psalm 144, verses 1 and 2. In this Bible verse, na-connect ko yung si Sun Tzu, na-connect ko yung HR, at na-connect ko rin yung pagiging labor lawyer. Sabi dito ng Bible, this was King David who's singing and reciting this. Praise be the Lord, my rock, who trains my hands for war, my fingers for battle. He is my loving God and my fortress, my stronghold and my deliverer, my shield in whom I take refuge, who subdues people under me. So when we are handling people, leading people, and especially when we are dealing with difficult or problematic people, yung mahirap people who are hard to deal with. Now let's pray and ask for assistance from the Lord, because He is the one that subdues people under us, under you. Next slide, please. And this is my last slide. This inspired ito from the Bible, from Sun Tzu, and from other authors. In my law practice, this is my motto, my lifetime motto: win with integrity. And it's, as you can see, it's highlighted win-win. No? So at the end of the day, when you are dealing with people, how do you get what you want, and how do you give them what they want? It's a win-win. So it's like a family. No? If you want to have that kind of loyalty, no, walang iwanan, walang laglagan, walang bibitaw, no. So you treat your people like Sun Tzu said. You treat your people like your beloved children, no. So it's a win for them because you're treating them like your beloved children, and it's a win for you because they will give you loyalty, dedication, and they will give you their all. Pag nakita nila that you care for them. So with that, dito na lang po muna ang presentation. Baka may mga questions tayo. Thank you. Coach.
Good afternoon, sir. Ang daming content. Sun Tzu, The Art of War is available, widely available, but not a lot of people read it. Kasi even though it's a very short book, there's a lot of wisdom that's punched in every single sentence. Strongly recommend that everybody can read it. Attorney Paul, let's start off with some question and answer. Kung may tanong po kayo, pakiiwan lang po sa ating comment box. Would you be familiar? Kasi diba sabi po, meron dito nagsabi nga, yung Lao Tzu naman daw for millennials or to Gen Z. Mga Chinese Confucians talaga, no? 'Di ba grabe mga wisdom. Like how would you think po ang difference ng ni Sun Tzu and si Lao Tzu? Parang sa Tzu, 'di
Okay,
ba?
yeah. Si Sun Tzu is more of general kasi si Sun Tzu. They are all philosophers, no? But Confucius is more on life, more on balance, communing with nature, and the same thing with Lao Tzu. But Sun Tzu is what differs Sun Tzu from them as a philosopher is Sun Tzu is about winning, about strategies, no, about defeating the enemy in an effective and cost-effective and efficient, cost-efficient manner. So that's how Sun Tzu comes in.
Okay. Rona?
Ay, meron po tayong question dito from Cook Trini. How can you deal with an HR person who is underperforming?
Underperforming. Okay. Ang HR pa ang underperforming, ha?
Hirap
Okay.
po.
So, Well, syempre kailangan po diyan yung particulars, no? We cannot I can only give general suggestion, but importante po diyan kasi talagang we know the exact circumstances, because Sun Tzu, no, I was not able to discuss it because of the time constraint. I was only able to discuss key principle number 6, but if we are going to include the key principle 1 to 5, no, papasok po diyan. And si Sun Tzu is all about intelligence, no, gathering information, gathering data, because how do you approach, how do you strategize kung ano lang, you just assume, you just speculate, di ba? You humugot ka ng mga figures sa ere. So si Sun Tzu is about getting hard information. Ang importante dyan is background, conduct a background, bakit ganito, talagang full complete analysis, no, full complete investigation, bakit underperforming si HR, so that when you talk to the HR, alam mo kung saan, ano ang approach mo, paano ka makaka-relate sa kanya, kasi baka pag ang approach mo hindi maganda, then lalong hindi maging maganda ang result ng conversation mo. So that's Sun Tzu, no? Strategic lagi ang kanyang approach, and gusto niya yung hard data.
Attorney
Ang
Paul,
Yes.
Like, hindi, ang ano ko lang dito sa question, Cook. This question, is it asked as, who are you in the question?
yeah.
Diba? Kasi are you a subordinate or are you the boss? Diba? Are you trying to solve the problem of your HR in your company underperforming, or parang in what way are you looking at it? Kasi a lot of people think of HR kasi as a job role. Not a lot of people think of HR, as what you've said, Attorney Paul, as a leadership role. Kasi it can be very process and admin oriented, lalo na sa Pilipinas. But people forget nga about the strategic HR, which is what Sun Tzu is talking about, na how an HR can lead a department or a culture or the type of values that a company has. Kasi in many companies, parang ang role ng HR, napaka-powerless nila. Yung inuutos-utusan na lang, inuutusan ng boss sa taas, inuutusan ng mga tao sa baba, parang naipit ka naman sa gitna. Parang burger ba? So I think the question din for a lot of HR, kasi I think may konting hugot din tong question. If you're the HR na feeling mo medyo powerless ka sa role mo, kasi parang 'di ba you're very admin, marami kang bosses sa taas at saka bosses sa baba, kahit yung mga employees mo bosses mo din. How would you relate, Sun Tzu, to their predicament? Kasi they do want to feel empowered in their roles, di ba? How can Sun Tzu help them?
Yes, Sun Tzu can help them by teaching them that things can be approached strategically and tactically. No, hindi bara-bara. Yun yung ini-espouse lagi ni Sun Tzu. Huwag kang lalakad ng wala kang plano, wala kang diskarte, wala kang strategy. Yan lagi ang sinasabi niya. Because kung kulang yung intelligence mo, para kang lasing na naghamon ng away. 'Di ba? Bahala na si Batman, yung ganon. Tapos parang you're winging it. Ganon. So si Sun Tzu is all about sa kanya planning, all about finding out what's the weakness. Ito, let me share to you one Sun Tzu quote. Sabi ni Sun Tzu, avoid what is strong, attack what is weak. No? Very popular quotation ni Sun Tzu yun. Avoid what is strong, attack what is weak. Ang ibig sabihin noon is wag mong pag alam mo na babarahin ka, pag dito mo siya inumpisan sa isang area, no? Bakit ka pupunta doon? Hanap ka ng kiliti niya, hanap ka ng opening. For example, baka you can start the conversation if you're going to have a meeting with someone and it's a sensitive, it's a difficult conversation. Maybe you can start with finding out kung what's your similarities. Baka pareho pala kayo ng magkababayan pala kayo, pareho kayong let's say Ilocano or Bicolano. So depende yun, and then you can find something na pareho pala kayong parent or pareho pala kayong single mom. So you can start with something that you can relate with para ang pasok mo hindi ka agad confrontational kasi if you start with the wrong foot, no, baka tuloy-tuloy na yon. So yun yung ano niya, mag-research ka, in other words.
And
Mag-research.
Attorney Paul, babalik to doon sa sinabi nyo kanina na leaders should be good communicators. Kasi di ba,
Yes.
if good communicator ka, alam mo kaagad kung paano mo aatakihin yung kausap mo kung paano yung way mo. Hindi ka, yun nga sabi, di ba, hindi mo lalabanan kung saan yung ayaw niya. Doon ka sa kung ano yung gusto niya, kung ano yung language na naiintindihan niya. And that's basics of basics of communication. Yung kung paano mo i-encode yung message, it has to be in the same manner that the receiver would be able to decode it, maiintindihan niya. So it all goes back to that. Maganda yung ano na yun, maganda yung mindset na yun na, and palagi natin ito nasasabi, di ba, Coach Dar and Mentor Tina, lagi natin sinasabi doon sa mga audience natin na hindi kayo, kailangan mo na intindihin kung saan nanggagaling yung boss mo, or saan nanggagaling si HR, or saan nanggagaling yung mga employees. Find the common ground, go there, talk to the employee. Pag nagkakaintindihan na kayo, then do the difficult conversation.
Okay.
Attorney Paul,
Yes.
I would just like to piggyback on what Mentor Tina and Mentor Rona has mentioned earlier. We've seen a lot of HR, even seasoned HR, fail during legal battle or kaya administrative cases because they put too much emotion on the case. Diba? Yung they become sensitive and they make the case as something personal.
Okay.
And kasi ako, when you make the case as something personal, you're like fighting a war, di ba? You're fighting against the person, you're fighting against the employee or X number of employees who are fighting a case. What would you recommend, Attorney Paul, for HR professionals to not to be trapped on that, yung being too sensitive, absorbing the case on a professional, na parang itong case na to, isinampa sa NLRC dahil sa HR. Yung, kasi di ba, send kasi ng letter sa NLRC.
May pangalan
Pangalan mo talaga yung nakalagay doon, di ba? So,
hugot pa?
mga tao, personal yun, parang, bakit? Di ba? Parang, so how would you make sure that they don't fall on that mindset na mali?
Yes, yun nga. Actually, trabaho lang. For me, mahirap kasing magsabi from my point of view kasi I'm usually coming as an external lawyer or external consultant. So I can really detach myself because hindi ako part ng organization or hindi ako involved dun sa actual incident or dispute. So it's easy for me to be professional. Now, I can understand where the HR is coming. Talagang kasi kayo yung involved doon kayo talagang babad doon. So talaga sa akin mahirap magbigay ng advice because alam ko mahirap gawin. But from Sun Tzu, if we're going to get inspiration from Sun Tzu, ang sa kanya is more of hindi niya tinitingnan na kasi ang ganito, ang kanyang principle is more of subdue, subdue, how to subdue. One of his famous lines, sinabi niya, the height of skill is not winning 100%. Yung hindi mananalo ka na laging panalo. It is to subdue the enemy without fighting. So, ang sa kanya is, hindi mo kasi magagawa ito kung pine-personal mo. Kung pine-personal mo, gigil ka. Gusto mo laging action, banat. Kung babanatan ka, babanat ka. You reply in kind. Kung you want to have the last word, kasi nga invested ka emotionally. So, Sun Tzu is reminding, hindi mo ma-apply. You will not be able to apply the Sun Tzu principle if you are too invested emotionally in a particular case. Kasi you will not be able to think clearly. You will not be able to think strategically. So, you must be able to keep yourself calm and collected lagi. Yun yung point ni Sun Tzu. Otherwise, lusob ka lang ng lusob. 'Di ba? Ang isang tao who is invested emotionally and personally niya inaano, hindi na nag-iisip eh. So yun yung ano niya. First things first is 'di ba? Step back. Step back. Hinga-hinga. Isip tayo kasi ano wala. And maybe one strategy kung talagang hindi mo mapigilan ng sarili mo is maybe you get a consultant, an external, someone who can be objective. Sa amin, sa mga lawyers, there's a saying, no? There's a saying that if you are a lawyer and if you lawyer for yourself, you are a fool, no? A lawyer should not lawyer for himself. Why? Because pag invested kami sa kaso at kami mismo yung involved, we are the complainant, we are the defendant, and then kami rin yung lawyer for ako rin yung defendant, ako yung lawyer for myself, being defendant, ako yung complainant, ako rin yung lawyer. Well, we can do that because we are trained, we are equipped. But why do we call that kind of lawyer a fool? Because mawawalan ka nga ng objectivity.
Oo.
You would lose objectivity because parang involved ka doon. So yung mga usually na maiisip mong strategy, tactic, ganyan, with a calm mind, objective mind, hindi mo maabot. That's why even lawyers hire other lawyers to represent them in a case. And that's really the best practice. So siguro kung if you're the HR, hindi kaya to detach yourself from your emotional involvement, then get parang a sounding board, no? Someone who can look at things objectively and can advise you.
I do have to share, I can share a strategy that we use for mga entrepreneurs. Yon. Sabi ni Attorney Paul a while ago, one of his favorite Sun Tzu is, you fight the war without really fighting it. A lot of dole cases can be prevented if somebody in the HR team actually asks the employee what happened. Pag alam mo napipikon na yung staff in a work environment or sa isang tao, lalo na pag sinasabi nilang pinag-iinitan ako, your ears must be very alert already. And you as the calm HR should already approach that employee to talk to that person and para lumabas yung lahat ng sama ng loob. Kasi nagrereklamo lang naman yan sa dole pag feeling nila wala silang kausap sa loob ng kumpanya. Hindi
Yes.
nagdodole yan. Ang tao nagdodole kasi napikon. Hindi dahil masyado sa pera. They always look at, galit ako sa tao, I want justice. And since management does not take action, I will escalate it so that that person will pay for it. It's not the company. Usually, hindi sila galit sa company eh. Galit sila doon sa tao na yon. Another strategy, okay, that I do is, pag may nagre-reklamo, pag nakuha yung letter, labas yung 201 file. Sino tong tao na nagrereklamo tungkol sa amin? Usually, that person, minsan madali. Minsan nandun na sa ibang kumpanya tapos biglang lalabas magrereklamo. Tatanungin namin, nasaan na tong taong to? Alam namin, doon na sa kabila nagtrabaho. Tatawagan namin, doon sa kabila. Nandyan po ba si ganito, ganyan? Bakit? Hinahanap po namin siya. Pag kinausap namin siya, doon sa bago niyang kumpanya, nagwi-withdraw siya ng dole case. Hindi. Sabi niya, nakatanggap kami ng letter. We'll talk to the person itself. Nakatanggap kami po ng letter kasi na may reklamo kayo tungkol sa company. Ano pong nangyari? Pag na-receive na nila, hindi, walang problema. Nagwi-withdraw na sila. That's fighting without really fighting kasi nasa bago na silang kumpanya. Ayaw na nilang may nanggugulo. And you don't have to disclose to the company what happened. All you have to ask the person is something wrong? If there is something wrong, please let us know what is wrong. Kasi you're already there in the company. I don't really understand what your hugot is. Then after that, no problem. Sige. Don't bother me at my new job. Bye-bye. Yun yung strategy.
Yeah.
Ako, strategy
Yeah.
ko, pinakakain ko eh. During conciliation mediation, after nung meeting, sasabihin ko talaga, kain tayo, usap tayo. Tapos
Do they
minsan,
really, ano ba? Do they really,
nare-realize nila na, kasi ma'am, na ano lang ako, na yung sobrang emotion lang, napikon ako, kaya tumakbo ako sa dole. Sabi ko, ay sige, ano ba yung problema, pag-usapan natin. Tapos, alam mo yung nakaklarify sa kanila, and then ayun, sabihin nila na, sorry, masyado akong naging emotional, and na storbo ko pa kayo sa HR. Kasi usually, hindi HR ang kalaban nila. Kaya lang si HR ang kailangan humarap kasi si HR yung representative. So minsan, sabihin nila na, sorry ma'am, naabala ka pa. Naiinis lang talaga ako doon sa manager ko eh. Pero since wala naman na ako doon sa company, wala na ako actually pakialam sa kanya. So pag ganun, minsan, malalaman ko na lang na, ay, nag-withdraw na. Magsasabi na sa susunod na namin, sabihin doon sa arbiter na, ayoko na, hindi ko na itutuloy, etc. etc. Yung ganun, minsan talaga, kakailan mo lang kausapin eh.
Yes.
That's the
Tama
reason
yun.
why, tama yun, diba? The best, sabi niyo nga, sir, yung the best talent, the best skill kaya sa HR, labor relations, is communication. Communication,
Yes.
kasi how you state certain things have a very big impact of changing the entire situation. Kasi minsan, 'di ba, pag tayo may kausap tayo, customer po. Pag sabi, ay hindi ganoon totoo 'yan. Biglang lumolobo yung galit ng tao. Kasi may narinig silang hindi nila gusto. At the same time, may times na pag may nasabi ka rin, bigla-bigla makita mo nagre-relax na agad, umiiba na yung tono. Attorney Paul, 'di ba, you've encountered many of these situations. What do you think is the best way na para mapaikot ng mga HR yung galit ng tao, from galit to parang magre-relax na
Yeah.
sila para maiba yung sitwasyon? What would you advise based on Sun Tzu din?
Actually, Coach Tina, tama yung sinabi mo kanina. And I have handled a lot of cases na galit sila sa tao, hindi sa company. No? Ang galit nung employee kung bakit pumunta sa Dole or kay Tulfo para mag-complain ay hindi sila galit sa company, galit sila sa specific individuals in the company. Now, knowing na ang kanilang grievance is not necessarily directed sa isang sa company itself but to certain individuals, then magandang approach diyan is to get someone na hindi involved dun sa dispute, someone na medyo outside of the circle, no? So siya yung magiging mediator or negotiator or someone that would facilitate the grievance, to settle the grievance. Kasi kung bagong mukha yan, bakit siya magagalit sa isang tao? Ako nga lawyer eh. Dapat nga nagagalit sila sa akin dahil lawyer ako ng client ng kumpanya. Pero pag dahil hindi nila ako kilala, wala naman silang personal na galit sa akin, nag-open up sa akin. No, nakikipagkwentuhan sila, kinikwento nila yung mga sama ng loob nila, ganyan, si ganyan. So, ako naman, basta nakikinig lang ako. Hindi, kasi sabi ko, I'm just here to listen, wala naman ako dyan. So, magkwento ko lang kasi I cannot say naman kung sino ang tama at sinong mali. But kung ano yung sabihin mo, ang commitment ko na lang sa kanila makakarating. And I report to my client. At nare-realize nila, ganun pala yun. Kasi minsan kasi ganito, halimbawa, manager, supervisor, siya ang kumausap, hindi naging maganda yung resulta. Yung top management, ini-insist na tao mo yan, responsibility mo yan, problema mo yan, gawin mo yan. Hindi na nga maganda eh. Tapos i-insist mo siya pa rin ang mag-solve ng problema. Maybe you can tap someone else to do it kasi invested na, involved na, emotional na, hindi na maganda yung kanilang relationship. And if you insist na problema mo yan, gawin mo yan, baka hindi effective. Mas maganda siguro get someone. Kaya yan siguro ang maganda kung 'di ba sa line manager, sila mismo directly nakatutok do sa tao. So talagang may away na yan, may bad blood. Maganda diyan, pwedeng pumasok diyan ng HR dahil di naman siya involved sa operation, no? Someone na pwede siyang lumagay kumbaga sa gitna, medyo a listening ear, give a listening ear,
Mm.
a sympathetic, empathetic ear para naman
Mm.
makapaghinga ng sama ng loob yung ano. And then, tell them na may right naman sila. They have the right to be heard. And then sometimes kasi ang nangyayari is masyadong kinakampihan lagi yung management. So, parang laging, di ba? Parang you don't hear both sides. Kasi there's always two sides to the story. Baka naman talagang may problem din yung boss niya. Oo.
Mm.
Attorney
May,
Paul,
go,
I have a
Coach Dar.
question. Yeah. What would you, what's your opinion on cases where mas gusto ng mga companies na sinesettle na lang yung dispute, yung legal
Mm.
dispute during Sena,
Mm.
even if the case is wrong for the employer side, but the employer would just say that mas mapapagastos kasi ako pag itutuloy ko to into a full blown case. Would
Mm.
you say that we are actually uh, ano parang uh, tinuturuan natin yung mga empleyado na mali na makalusot because of that particular
Aha.
reason na mas mapapamahal si employer kung itutuloy niya yon as a full-blown case, or would you suggest employers that if you feel that you are right, you have to pursue the case just to set a point, an example to the employee?
Ano lang, judgment call yan, no? I cannot say na one thing is better than the other. It's all a judgment call, no? So kanya-kanyang ano yan, appetite for risk, for prinsipyo yan eh. Pag prinsipyo kasi hindi mo matatawaran ng prinsipyo. But for me, valid yung both approach to stick to your principle, ilaban mo. But it's going to be costly. Minsan talaga, mahal ang ipaglaban mo ang prinsipyo mo. Kasi legal services cost a lot, di ba? And if you're going to engage a lawyer to defend you, to submit the position paper, you have to count the cost. Count the cost of your legal defense. Now, i-weigh mo kung hinihingi lang naman para matapos na 10,000 tapos the legal cost would be more than 50,000, di ba? Although, kaya sabi ko hindi matatawaran eh. Prinsipyo is different. Hindi mo masasabing 10,000, 50,000. Prinsipyo ang pinag-usapan. So, hindi ko rin sinasabing mali na ipaglaban ng prinsipyo. Judgment call yan. Kanya-kanyang values yan. Sometimes you really, and then sometimes depende sa principle na we're talking about. Kung maliit na bagay, pwede mong palampasin. Kung malaking bagay, iba yon. Kunwari, talagang may ginawang kasalanan yung employee. Let's say, nagnakaw. Yon, talagang prinsipyo yon. Otherwise, it will send a bad signal, a bad example to the other employees na push over pala tong management na ito. Tinotolerate yung mga ganito. So, always also look at the perception of the other employees. What will they think? No, pag bumigay ka. So, it's no longer the cost, no? So, you're willing to pay for the legal costs because ano na to eh, it's more than just this particular case. It involves all the other employees because you're sending a message, you're sending a signal. But kung hindi naman performance lang, mga ganyan, mga kaunting attendance, what's a few thousands when ano naman yan. After that, you can concentrate on more important things. Diba? You settle it, you close it, and then go on your separate ways. Yun lang yun.
I'm good.
There is also you have to understand then that parang wars are fought differently eh. In a way, sometimes it might seem that the employee has won because they got the settlement money. But for many employees with average skill sets, such experience, kasi they will brag about it, can sometimes also affect their hireability.
Yes.
Depending on the reason why they file the case. Kasi sometimes there is clear abuse and there should be, parang you have to escalate. But many times talaga, there are also employees who do this regularly to get settlement. Because
Mhm.
it's like work eh, 'di ba? If they and there's a practice talaga na hindi lang ikaw yung nireklamo pero halos lahat ng tao nireklamo na niya. For
Mhm.
people like that, the fight can be, you can be petty or you can be open-minded din. And siguro the problem is not the labor engagement but rather the recruitment. Bakit tong
Mm.
taong na 'to na mapalaaway, na
Correct.
mareklamo, nakalusot sa hiring process ninyo? Kasi malas lang talaga ninyo, kasi kahit saan pumunta 'yan, magrereklamo talaga 'yan.
Yes.
There's some people talaga who do this regularly, 'di ba? And there's
Yeah,
many ways to skin a cat, eh. Oo,
yan ang
attorney.
tinatawag namin na professional complainant.
Hmm.
That's what we call them, professional complainants. May ganyan talaga,
Hmm.
tama yan na Coach Tina. May mga employees who prey upon unsuspecting employers. Gusto talaga nila, they create an issue. They're the one who create issues. Sila talaga yung ma-complain, mareklamo, and then they really make an issue hanggang sa iinisin nila yung mga supervisor nila, hanggang you fall into their trap,
Hmm.
no? Mawalan ka ng pasyensya, biglang bulkan kang sasabog, and then gagamitin na nila yan. Oy, ano ko, tinerminate ako. Then susumbong ka na. Ganon, may mga ganyan talaga. Then kasi they there are people who are like that. So, pero hindi naman marami. Kukunti lang yan. Malas, tama ka. Malas ka na lang.
Malas lang, malas lang.
Do we have any other questions in the chat?
Yes. Rona?
Actually, not more of a question, but more on a comment. Okay. So we have here someone who said Sun Tzu, just like David Ulrich defines and highlights the significant transformation of HR from being traditional to being a strategic partner of the management in achieving organizational excellence. And then we also have something from Alex Sir Flores. Ang sabi niya, there are always three sides to the truth. Three sides of a story. Ayan. His side, your side, and the truth. Ayan. So, yan po yung mga comments ng atin pong mga taga-subaybay. Merong nag-comment kanina na meron siyang question about resignation. If meron ka pong question, pakilagay na po yan sa comment. Ayan. Pero kung ito po
Attorney,
yung 30 days.
Attorney, I do have a question regarding being a strategic HR. 'Di ba,
Yeah.
ang turo natin kanina is HR should be strategic. Ano naman po ang mga payo ninyo sa mga HR na naturally strategic? Na medyo obvious na masyadong pinag-chess game ang trabaho. Kasi
What do
that's
you mean
also not a
pinag-chessing?
good thing eh, 'di ba? If you're too
Ah,
strategic, people might see it might be a good thing for the company and for the operations, but it might also be seen as too cunning. Which is parang it can be a bad thing na masyado tong taong gumagawa, pag may ginagawa, may ulterior motive, merong naka-chessboard yan, magaling mag-chess yan. Which is also not a bad. Minsan kasi na, pag masyado kang strategic, nakakapansin. And minsan, hindi rin yan pabor. 'Di ba? Minsan kasi kulang na strategy, eh ngayon naman sobrang strategic. How would you recommend kaya na para mapalitan yung ganong klaseng impression? Kasi medyo na, 'di ba,
si
parang it's too strategic na.
Oo. Si Sansu kasi, and many writers and gurus are um, in agreement with this. And I think Sansu in his own way, although hindi niya sinabi explicitly, he's actually saying culture trumps strategy
Mm.
anytime. No, culture.
Mm.
When you say culture, it takes time. It takes time to build a company culture because company culture starts at the top. And si Sansu kasi, ang kanyang emphasis is culture because military yung kanya no? Military discipline. It starts at the top. So that's what he's trying to build. Pag meron ka ng culture, no, sometimes na yan, automatic na yan eh. And you just have to deal with isolated cases. Isolated cases na lang yan. Pag you have established a culture of discipline, a culture with certain values of productivity, efficiency, and being candid, and you treat each other like a family, no? Culture will take care of the macro, no? So yun na yun. And you don't have to be strategic sa every isolated situation, kasi ano na yun, kumbaga negligible na in terms of sa population. In terms, let's say you have 2,000 employees, one or two, ano lang yan eh, these are just isolated cases. Importante yung macro, yung lahat. Ano ba ang lahat ba ng employee mo pasaway, o lahat ba ng employee mo disiplinado, di ba? Kasi impossible naman na perfect lahat yan, na walang grievance at walang incidents na mangyari. May incidents na mangyayari dyan. So yun. So I think focus on the culture, kasi importante yun. And culture is also based on values and standards. So work on that. And then I don't really understand yung sinasabi mo na masyadong mas strategic, no?
Strategic.
I might misinterpret what you're trying to say. But yun yung sa akin. Ang laking bagay nung culture. But it takes time. It takes time to build on a company culture. Si Sun Tzu, kaya very interested ako sa kanya because military yung organization niya. And of course, we're not dealing with military organization. We're dealing with business establishments. So how do you, di ba, ang ganda-ganda ng military discipline, yung how they follow orders, ask, they obey first before they ask any question, something like that. Ganun yung mga nila. Walang iwanan, di ba? Parang band of brothers. How do you try to duplicate that in a civilian establishment or civilian organization? So, di ba? Although magkaiba yan, but there are certain principles that we can adapt. So that's, I think yun yung dapat tingnan ng mga HR. Di ba? Nakaka-envy ang military discipline. How can we have that kind of organization kahit ma-approach lang natin into our civilian or business organization? So that's why I'd like to pick Sun Tzu's mind. Anong ginawa niya? So yun nga, kaya yung although hindi niya mention yung culture, probably nung time na yun wala pa sa kanyang vocabulary. No, but he is actually gearing to that direction. It's culture.
Meron po tayong isa pang question dito from Joey Albert Lemita. Although hindi siya related dun sa ating topic for today. Pero since nandito na rin daw po kayo, Attorney Paul, baka matulungan niyo po siya. Nag-resign kasi yung kanilang employee last September 1, effective September 30. Tapos hindi na raw pumasok ng September 16. So need pa daw ba na bigyan ng AWOL letter or no need na since nakapag-turnover naman siya ng maayos? And pinapareport na daw kasi siya doon sa new company.
Okay, ganito yan. Yung 30 days, nasa labor code po yan. That's a right, employer's right. Very, di ba labor code, alam natin, pag sinabing labor code, dapat workers' rights, employees' rights. But there are certain provisions in the labor code that provides rights for employers. And one of them is with respect to voluntary resignation. Article 300 of the Renumbered Labor Code provides for the right of the employer to require their employees to give them 30 days advance written notice before their resignation can take effect. And the reason why the Labor Code requires employees to do that, para hindi naman masabotage, no? Kasi pag iiwanan mo, parang it's like an economic sabotage kung bigla na lang magre-resign si employee on the spot, immediate resignation, na wala namang dahilan. So kawawa naman si employer. That's why there's a 30-day notice. But since this is a right, all rights can be waived. No? Pwedeng i-waive ng employer kung hindi niya kailangan ng employee mag-report ng 30 days. At nagawa naman everything, turnover, transition, at wala namang negative effect, then okay lang, pabayaan na niya si employee. Pwede niyang i-shorten yung 30 days na yon. In fact, pwede niyang immediate resignation kung wala namang kailangang i-turnover if there's no transition needed. So
Mm.
that's just yan 30 days na yan is just for the protection of the employer. And if the employer does not need the protection, then the employer may not impose that the 30 days anymore. Hindi niya kailangan eh. Yun lang yun. So, pwede mo lang enforce yan kung talagang na prejudice ka. Nag-resign siya ng tapos effective September 30 tapos hindi na siya pumasok ng September 16. Kung kailangan mo pa siyang pumasok, di na prejudice ka, na damage ka, na perhisyo ka doon. Yun, talaga pwede, may habol ka because the labor code itself says that the employee must render 30 days, no? Ngayon, kung hindi mo na kailangan, di okay lang 'yun. Good luck na lang sa sa employee kasi ano naman wala naman siyang naging kasalanan, o I mean hindi naman siya nag-cause ng any damage to your operations or activities.
Ayan, sige po. Attorney Paul, narating na po natin ang end ng ating show for today.
Okay.
Any last words po? At contact number niyo po kasi may mga nagtatanong po kung paano kayo mako-contact because they would want to invite
Okay.
you as a speaker.
Well, Facebook, you can contact me. First of all, sa Facebook, I have a Facebook account sa Pol Sangalang, Pol Sangalang, Facebook. That's one. But for my phone number, baka hindi nila ma-memorize.
Facebook po. Para baka may
Facebook na lang,
stalkers ka.
Facebook na
Baka
lang. Just send me
maharas
a
ka,
message sa
Facebook.
Oo. Yeah.
Very friend. And then you have your legal page po, attorney, diba?
Yes. And then I invite you nga, 'di ba? Kanina I invite everyone. Ito yung last invitation to everyone. My last message is October 7, magla-live po ako. Ang title nung program, Ask Attorney Paul. Kaya ito po yung aking background niya. Ask Attorney Paul. October 7, 10 a.m. Facebook Live. So, it's kung gusto niyo magtanong, it's free. Then may Zoom. Kung gusto niyo mag-join sa Zoom room, I will post the Zoom room and the passcode later sa aking Facebook page, and you can join sa Zoom, no? But pwede rin sa Facebook Live. So it's recorded naman. Kung hindi kayo available ng October 7, you can just go to my Facebook account, and then nandun naman naka-upload yung mga recorded sessions in the past. I've been doing this since July 2020. So medyo marami na dyan. No? And for 2 hours, you can ask any question under the sun.
That's how I became a really big fan of yours. For my last words, tama po si Attorney Paul that the workplace is a battlefield. If we're being very honest about it. The sometimes our bosses can be our enemies, sometimes our employees that we serve can also be our enemies. And the best way talaga for an HR to survive, flourish, and even succeed is to know how to handle your enemies and make them your friends. Well, some of the tips that Attorney Paul has shared with us is number one, we can win fights without even fighting. And the best way to do that is to communicate better with our enemies. Kasi sometimes with our choice of words, we can transform friends to enemies and enemies to friends. And our work is a lot easier if our enemies like us. Because we can fight about issues and still like each other. Diba? Kasi sometimes we look at parang wars as a zero-sum game. Somebody has to lose. When that happens, you're not playing a war. That's your pride who is talking. And you are fighting not for the dignity of the company or the dignity of your rules and regulations, pero for you to be right. And HRs have to be very careful about our pride. Kasi we're not always right eh. They're also employees and they could be right. And the line manager could be wrong. Or you could be in the right, but if your manner of communication is wrong, or pinatulan mo, you're still in the wrong. Diba? So it's a lot better sometimes for a company if everybody gets along. 'Di ba? And that's what an HR needs to do. Pag may away sa loob ng kumpanya, huwag ka nang sumawsaw. Dapat ikaw yung nagdi-deflect. And another thing that he was saying as well is that parang with Sun Tzu nga is leadership is very important. A lot of people want to be leaders, but we have to ask ourselves, are we equipped to be leaders? If for example, yung naririnig natin yung sinasabi ni Attorney Paul, we're like, yeah, tama, tama, tama. And yet we choose to be in a passive role and continue to blame management or our situation for the things that's going on and the problems that we have at work. I don't think we are ready to be leaders yet. Kasi leaders change the situation that we are in. Kung may problema sa trabaho, hindi ka sasawsaw. Ikaw dapat yung nagsusolusyon, nagsa-strategize, at saka nag-aayos para lahat ng kumpanya mag-follow ng common goal. Which is not yung pag-aaway-away sa loob ng kumpanya, but rather mag-away sa labas ng kumpanya, yung mga competitors nyo,
Mm.
yung paano akyatin yung mga sales mo. The more time you spend fighting amongst yourself, the worse it becomes for all of us. So tama yung petics, tama na yung away, dun tayo sa mas healthy, which is how to improve performance of everybody, how to improve sales, how to improve culture, how to improve values, which is beneficial for all. And I think lastly, sa akin when you look at Attorney Paul kasi, we view attorneys as very confrontational, very know-it-all. But if you've noticed, Attorney Paul's style is very parang laid back, casual. Pero if you've listened to the introduction, napakagaling ni Attorney Paul. So kung meron kayong labor problems or corporate issues, his law firm can help you. But if you've noticed, yung style niya, very Sun Tzu. Hindi obvious na napakagaling siyang lawyer. And that is one way for him to lower his enemy's defenses, which is a very Sun Tzu move. And I hope everybody will learn from Attorney Paul na you can be a leader and a winner without looking as if ikaw yung panalo palagi and yung kalaban mo yung talo. Because sometimes the biggest battles are won with your enemies feeling they've won the battle, but you have won the war. And that is what Attorney Paul Sangalang is teaching us with the art of war. And I really hope, Attorney, kasi I know you've only focused on one, I hope you will guess again so that you can share your knowledge with us and the viewers in the future. Kasi mukha lang yang mabait. Sa totoo, mabait si Attorney Paul. Pero nananalo yan. Tanungin natin bakit siya nananalo, di ba? Hindi dahil lang sa tapang, pero he is able to communicate with you in such a way na akala mo friends kayo talaga, and you are. But at the same time, he still fulfills what he needs to do, which is to win the battle without you not even knowing it. And even alam mo na natalo ka na, okay pa rin sa'yo kasi you seriously like him as a person. Yun talaga yung Sun Tzu. Rona, ikaw naman.
Alam mo, bagay na bagay yung isang line sa Art of War, sa sinabi mo, Mentor Tina. No? Appear weak when you are strong, appear strong when you are weak. Kasama yun sa Art of War. And tamang-tamang description yan kay Attorney Paul. Alam mo yung tipong kalmadong-kalmado siya ngayon. Pero pag binilang mo kung ilan yung mga kasong napanalo niya, di ba? Parang, wow, mapapaganong ka na lang. Again, how to be you po, Attorney. Yun lang ang matatanong ko sa inyo. Sa akin naman, siguro ang pinakamagandang natutunan ko dun sa naging session natin today, and I hope that the HR people will also notice this, right from the start, up to the last point that Attorney Paul has mentioned, ang palagi niyang binabanggit is strategic. Sun Tzu is strategic. Tayo bilang leaders, we also need to be strategic. We have to let go of the notion na si HR is tagasunod lang sa mga boss, tagasunod lang sa mga gusto ng mga empleyado, tagasagot lang. We have to level ourselves up and become strategic. Now, it doesn't happen overnight. you have to invest in yourself. Bumili kayo ng Art of War. Umattend kayo noong webinar ni Attorney Paul. Kasi you have to change yourself. Sabi nga ni David Ulrich, the administrative side of HR will not, hindi yan mawawala. It will not disappear. However, the HR professionals themselves have to be strategic. They have to exert effort to become strategic because if they don't, they will be replaced by robots. Lahat ng administrative na yan, ma-automate yan, magiging digital yan. And if you keep holding on to that, because that is your comfort zone, you don't become strategic, you don't develop how to handle situations, you don't practice kung ano man yung natutunan mo kay Sun Tzu at doon sa session natin today. Kakainin ka. Walang mangyayari sa'yo. So you need to develop your ability to be strategic. You need to be able to handle yourself. Kasi doon magsisimula yan eh. If you don't know how to handle yourself, when it comes to highly charged situations, emotional situations, if you don't know how to fight it out without really fighting it out, ayan, dyan, kakainin ka ngayon, and then you'll keep finding yourself na, eto lang kasi ako administrative lang alam ko Paano kaya hindi, ang maganda yung mga nadidiscuss kaya lang hindi ko kaya because my boss is this, the people here are like this, our culture is like this, you'll keep blaming other people. Instead of you, as the leader, as the HR, as let's say the general, being able to effect changes, ang mangyayari sa'yo, ikaw lang yung tipong wala lang, nandun ka lang sa isang tabi, taga-oo ka lang, diba? And we have power. We keep saying this. HR has a power. We have a specific kind of power. And we need to know how to use that. Okay? So attend po kayo nung session ni Attorney Paul. Kasi ako excited ako. Talagang gusto kong umattend noon. Ayan. At kung kayo po ay may question pa po kay Attorney Paul, pwede niyo pong hanapin ang kanyang Facebook page. We have also included in our comment section yung link po nung kanilang website. Okay, yung Paladins Paladins of Law, kung tama yung pagkakalat.
Yes, thank you.
Yan. So paladinslaw.org, nandun po sa comment section. Pwede nyo rin pong hanapin si Attorney Paul sa loob ng Philippines HR Group. And yung ibang mga sessions po natin, may mga ano po tayo niya, may records po tayo. I think yung last year, meron ding recording noon. You can find it in our YouTube channel para kung gusto nyo pong mag-review. At kung may mga questions kayo, pwede rin po kayong kung dumiretso sa kanya pong Facebook page. Matutulungan po kayo ni Attorney Pol Sangalang dahil ako po talagang kahit ako, baw na bawa ako kay Attorney Paul pagdating sa pag-handle ng mga discussion about labor cases, iba. Kalmadong-kalmado siyang mag-discuss, promise. Okay? Hindi ka matatakot na magtanong, masarap pakinggan yung discussion kasi naiintindihan mo at nakaka-relate kang maigi. Ayan po. Maraming salamat, Attorney Paul, for spending your day with us. At maraming salamat din po sa lahat ng ating mga taga-subaybay na talaga naman nagstay hanggang sa mga sandaling ito. We hope to see you guys next Sunday para na naman po sa isang episode ng HR Cafe, Usapang Trabaho, Buhay at Iba pa. But for now, enjoy the rest of your Sunday dahil Monday na naman bukas. Bye everyone!
Bye! Thank you! Bye! Ingat!